Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer. You know what? No, this is the producer Richard podcast now. That's what this is. It is the producer Richard podcast.
There's a coup immediately.
Yeah, no, immediately. And who else would a coup be with if not for Kyle Clark?
Hello, fellow Couvians.
It's Couville.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Couville
that.
is in constant civil unrest.
But everyone's got funny noses and weird names for shit.
Yeah. And then, throwing the flamiest of bottles into hobbles and gobbles.
It's the mutinal of the
Gribbles Bank. Gribbles stank, they said.
But oh god, now that's all I want to do.
They looted with blublers.
They lynched
right.
with pinchers.
Hey, everybody, I'm not Reed.
Thank God. I mean, truly, this is the best case scenario. No, this is what we want.
It's 2025, so you replace a beloved, hardworking Canadian father of two with a fucking American drinking a ginger ale and whiskey.
Well, no, we had to cut out the host because we're getting tariffed on podcasts now.
Oh, yeah. That's why I'm on so many of your shows right now, is because we're going to get fucking brutalized later.
Yeah, I know. The audio transfer cost is just going to be too much, and we're going to have to...
But I'm so fucking close to producing enough Canadian content to get dual citizenship.
Oh, baby, yeah. Get that CanCon. Oh, we love that.
That's awesome. If that were already true, I'd have gone to that long ago.
I mean, that's true.
If I got one extra wink from Canada, I'd be like, coming right now.
Oh,
baby.
yeah. No, absolutely. Let's jump it. I mean, yeah, it's the only
I have
reason.
So many more jackets than I did last time I thought about fleeing the country.
Hopefully you bring proper boots this time. I think one of my favorite things is that one of the good things for if we became the 51st state is that there would be easier for you to just live up here.
I mean, that's true. I mean, what I've always dreamed of is living in Canada once you've removed all of the great parts.
Yeah.
It's sliced up and much worse now? Oh, cool.
Make Canada bad again. So
there's just an elaborate debate about like which bad Canada they mean.
Well, of course. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you talk to the First Nations, they might have a different opinion. But, so Reed is in Japan right now for the next, I think, like 2 weeks. And it was funny because right before he left, we were supposed to record a bunch of episodes, and like us, we didn't do that. And partly because we got sick, but partly because neither of us wanted to do extra work. And
you were trying to avoid having the conversation with Reed before he left that there is that song Turning Japanese is not about a surgery.
No, but if it was, I'm sure it would win Best Picture next year. That was the Amelia Perez joke. Yeah,
and we've already forgotten about that film.
I know, but it's just so bad. I don't get it. Did you watch the Oscars? You don't seem like an Oscars.
I did. I
did you?
For this. So for many years, I worked on Sundays, so the Oscars were a thing I never got to see. So for the last few years, I've gone to my friend Julia Prescott's house for her Oscar event, just because it's she will serve food that has pun names.
Of course.
Glad he ordered 2 pizzas was what the pizzas were titled. There was the Strudelist.
Oh my god!
And then for Conclave, instead, it was just they took pretzel sticks and dipped them in like white frosting, and they were cigarettes from Conclave. It was pretty great. This was a fun year for me because no big movies came out. So instead, a bunch of weird bullshit I love was nominated for Best Picture. Love and Nora, thrilled that it went.
Yeah.
Substance, being nominated for Best Picture is an insanity thing. Like
it is crazy for you and for your podcast that like horror has become like the new thing that you do.
We've actually dipped back into doing obscure Southeast Asian horror films because we got sort of uncomfortable being at the vanguard of culture.
Yeah, you guys like, I mean, that is like the thing now. You do, instead of if you're gonna make an indie movie, you make horror.
Amy produces the show, and one of the interesting things has been because like a lot of what we take pride in is that like part of me and Amy's friendship is that like we are weird little crate diggers of horror where we just want to find weird bullshit
Sure.
that costs $9 because it might have some sort of cool thing, and both of us have like a wide enough mix of interests that like we cover a pretty weird spectrum.
Sure.
And so when stuff started to hit that was like having cultural conversation things, and for the spring of last year was insane. Like it was like I feel like every week for a few weeks there was just sort of something that was like starting with like in a violent nature, and then sort of all the way through to Terrifier towards the end of the year. Like every couple weeks there is a horror movie that is like interesting to engage with. And like what was so fun for me is like I didn't love all of them. Like I sort of it's a pretty mixed range, which to me was great as like a fan of the genre. Like
Sure.
I like that I didn't just think everything was great. I like that there was some stuff that like I struggled with. There's ones that like I didn't love, and over time I've come to appreciate them because they've like stuck with me. And then in the middle of that, like I saw The Substance on such a fucking like lucky whim. My buddy was just like, "Hey, Mubi has a movie out. We should go see it. I hear it's a weird, gross thing, which you like." And I was like, "It is okay." And then
Yeah,
like
listening.
finished it, and remember the first thing I thought is like, there's like four people in my life I can tell to see this movie, like who won't be mad at me if I
I
show
did
it to
love the
them.
Conan O'Brien Substance bit at the
Yeah,
Oscar.
the fact that like so many normal people sat and watched The Substance is insane to me, and like that's already a win. But it was funny because like Amy caught it early and so did I, so we got like a little bit of a numbers kick on that, and it was an interesting thing to kind of like watch the word of mouth on that spread and sort of like see it light up different places and different people kind of get hip to it. And it was just kind of crazy to just watch how it kept fucking going, because it is, again, I think it is a 5 out of 5 banger of a movie, but it is unpleasant. Like it
Yeah.
is gross
Yeah.
and yucky and kind of like reveling in how gross it is, and enjoys grossing you out in a way that is just like I want to salute it every time I see it, but it's there. But I don't know if there's been another like best picture movie that like has such Brian Yuzna energy.
Does that bother you
No, I
slightly?
love it. Like it's
Okay.
your society's broken, not mine. Like it's and I think like across the boards, I think like Nickel Boys is another thing that's like a profoundly interesting movie that like
Yeah.
made its way in a way that like I think if there is anything like less heavy that they can throw in there to deal with, maybe doesn't go. And so I think there's just a lot of like undeniable movies. And again, like have you seen Anora yet?
Yeah. Oh, I just watched it. I fucking love
It's
that
it's
movie.
so fucking good. And the thing that I think is great, like I've been a Sean Baker fan since Tangerine. Like once when I was like that, there's
Mhm.
some fucking broke dude who shot a movie on iPhones,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
I
like
won't
supposed to be
forget that.
funny
Yeah.
but also crazy. And that movie is great. Like I think that
Yeah.
movie's phenomenal. And I think like part of the fun of that movie is like you think it is going to be this heavy bummer, and while it has a lot of intensity to it, it is a lot of fun, like
Yeah.
genuinely fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a gift he does. He brings together these things that are very transgressive, but finds a heart in them. And I think like
Yes.
Anora is such a perfect execution of that thing he's been doing for
We got
most of his
goons.
career.
We got goons. I love goons.
It's man, that movie is really something special.
Is it crazy
That
to you? Were you expecting a gun at some point to come in and just never did? Because the whole time I was waiting for a gun.
so I think at a certain point it hit me, oh my God, this movie's fun.
Yeah.
Like holy shit, like this is a Linklater movie. Like
Yeah.
this is not like you need to
Yeah.
put your it's and then you kind of like, and then it was more once I kind of put it in that context, the back half is a goddamn delight. And then by the time you get to the ending, which I think is one of the most like incredible,
Beautiful.
like there's just so fucking much there.
Yeah. 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 I had to
Uh
explain it to my girlfriend after we watched
yeah.
it. Yeah.
And so like it's just such a special movie. And then again to watch like the weird thing of like this sort of like movie that's very mixed, like Amelia Perez was, but like you sort of like see, what
It is
somebody who
weird.
does like
Hollywood's definitely gotten weird. Yeah.
it's a weird ass. Also, it's a movie I have not seen, but it's also funny. Every time I watch a trailer, I'm like, is this just a fucking Prodigy video? Like, what is this movie? Uh, but then for it to like implode in something like that is almost like, out of a fucking soap opera. And so I don't know. It was an interesting run to do. I also just think it's cool. Sean Baker won Best Editor. I feel like anybody who has like edited something like really appreciates like that. Really, all of this stuff only happens if an editor decides to like
It
make it
is
look good.
wild how much it's all in the edit. Like, I think that's one of the things that I've only ever respected Kevin Smith for is like that he's just like, oh, I'm
On
barely a
Soderbergh,
director. Yeah, he's like, it's all in the edit. Like, the movie is where the edit is. Like, yeah.
It's and it's especially in horror and in comedy. Timing is everything. So much of like finding that right beat in the edit is such a huge thing.
Oh man, I need to send you this. I think I've talked about it on one of our podcasts already, but so I was the Yukon government basically came to me and was like, "Hey, because I'm the vice president of the Chamber of Commerce for the Yukon," and they came to me and they were like, "Hey, we want to like in response to these tariffs, we want to do like some sort of like buy local campaign, like at least as an immediate reaction, and we want the Chamber of
Hell
Commerce
yeah,
to
love
do
that.
that." And they were like, "Is there anything you could do as a Chamber of Commerce to sort of help do some sort of buy local thing?" And my executive director and team and stuff were like, I mean, we have like no money because it's the end of the year for us, and the government was like, we're sort of in the same position." And I was sitting in this meeting, and I'm like, "Fuck it, I'll do it." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "All I need is give me like a few hands, give me equipment because I don't want to use my own, and I will make some videos for you guys." And they're like, "Okay, well, what are the videos going to be?" And I was like, and I literally was making this up as I was saying it in this.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, "You guys know diners, drive-ins, and dives?" And they're like, "Yes." And I was like, "What if we did that, but not for food?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, we have all these like industries that are going to be affected by this. What if instead we just do like a promotional video for like the transportation companies and for like the all the like the health and wellness businesses in town and stuff?" And they're like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Hear me out." I was like, "You treat the industry like it's the restaurant. You treat each business within that industry as like the dishes in a diners, drive-ins, and dives episode."
Ooh.
And I was like, and same energy, same literally everything, except for that it's not that. And they were like, "Fuck it. Yeah, that sounds great." So I did it all by myself. And it is, I'll send you the video. It's so
Please
fucking
do.
funny. It's because I was editing it and I'm like, I think I've got it. Like, it's a lot of quick cuts. Basically, what I did, because I don't have a lot of time, I was like, here, I will film like intro videos of me just talking about the industry or whatever, and then just take a bunch of B-roll of all of these businesses, and I'll do voiceovers over top of it, and then it's boom, boom, done. And I'm editing this thing all together, and I'm like, there's something missing, and I put in the fucking rockabilly music, and it immediately came together. And then now I have this existential crisis because there's a Canadian version of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives called "You Gotta Eat Here." And they use the same music, and now I'm wondering, I'm like, is it just the perfect music for this, or is everyone just trying to ape Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives?
It's both.
I think it might be both. I'll send it to you because I think the next video is coming. I did transportation, and the next one is going to be like retail, and so we have like a bunch of but that video will come out tomorrow too, so I'll send it to you.
Ooh, I'm
But
excited.
it was completely free, and the Yukon government had to sign off on it, and it was literally like the first video. I'm talking about transportation, and I also used the sentence "big loads, small loads." I showed it to Reed, and he's like, "How are they letting you do this?" I'm like, no one's watching me. They're
Because
just
it's
letting me
free."
do it. Yeah, because it's free. I can just do anything I want. They're like, "That's wild." But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about comics.
Comic books.
As each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you. So I went to because Reed's not here. Reed's not in charge. I'm doing whatever the fuck I want. So one, there's no general theme for this episode. Two, I only went to the Discord. So if you guys aren't paying, your question didn't get into this week because I went to one place. So the questions are all coming from our Discord, and they're basically personal opinion questions because I'm not an expert.
Can we waste 10 minutes real quick before we get into these and
Please.
talk about Daredevil season 2 on your DC
Oh
podcast?
my God. Yes, that's right. Because you started getting into Daredevil.
I watched all of season 2. I watched season 1 when it came out, and then
Sure.
decided to watch season 2 because that new one looked good, and I was like, I should pick up where I left off, and was kind of delighted that like it's pretty good.
Remind me which is the thing.
Season
What's the
2
thing?
is the Punisher stuff and
Yes.
the Electra hand stuff.
I mean,
And
John Barenthal. I mean, good lord.
he's great. It's interesting because it's also pretty funny because it starts pretty heavily grounded, and then the second a single hand ninja shows up, it really like shits the reality bed.
That is the problem when you do those. Like, I mean, it's the same paint. It's that everyone paints himself into this corner, which is like, we're gonna do a gritty superhero, and it's like, yeah, but you know what? Like their main guys is this silly thing.
And it's funny because like I read like the Frank Miller Daredevil run was a pretty seminal thing for me. It's always been sort of weird
course.
because like his like Frank Miller's big thing for me was probably more Daredevil than Batman to a certain level.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the two big Bat books are things I've read a million times, but like that Daredevil run, because remember I read the back end of it. One of my brother's friend's dad had it in loose leaf, and he
Sure.
would like lend them to me in like batches of five. So I like read
Fuck
most of
yeah.
that run like in original like print run, which I never fucking do with stuff. I think it's like that, and like when I read Preacher the first time, I read like the last 10
Wow.
issues were like loose leaf because the guy had been buying them.
Hell yeah.
And so like it's weird because those definitely like stick with me because I'm not like a big Frank Miller guy. Like I have like
No God.
elements of what I appreciate about him, but like that stuff. But part of what I like about the show is like Matt's like kind of a piece of shit
Yeah.
in the world of Daredevil. Like, he's not a great dude. Like
Especially with
and not
women.
in
Yeah.
well yeah, and it's like he's like has all of these sort of like terrible habits. Like he's drawn to these terrible things. He makes a lot of bad decisions. He like manipulates people in a lot of ways that are like really
Hmm.
fucked up.
Yeah.
And like I think the show does a really good job of like doing a version of that where you are not required to be ultimately because the Spider-Man thing does that. You have to kind of feel bad. Like you empathize for Peter because Peter is earnestly trying.
Yes.
And then the flip side is like Batman doesn't give a fuck. Like he's a wraith. And in the
Yeah.
middle is like Matt Murdock, who the problem is kind of a regular guy. And it
Hmm.
turns out like just trying to be like a functional regular guy and be a superhero is like an almost completely incompatible thing.
Oh, and then like a very a job like a lawyer like is not an easy job.
And like the fact that like yeah, that whole second I was very because like it's doing a lot of like dumb superhero gritty things that I don't care about. Like the conversation of like, well, are masked vigilantes good? I say no. I say yes.
Ugh,
Like
yeah. I mean, they're doing
is
that in the new season too, but
yeah, and it's always dumb, and it's I think it's why often enjoy sort of an X-Men or a Spider-Man that sort of deals with those in a little bit different of a thing, where it's like, who gives a shit?
yeah,
Uh,
it's more about these guys are freaks and like that is
yeah,
because the world is bad and racist. That's why we don't like them.
yeah, and I think like but I love that this show really kind of embraces that, and it's funny because like in appearances he makes, Charlie Cox is very charming when he's Matt Murdock and stuff, but it's funny because even that kind of works because Matt Murdock always seems very together when he is in other
Yes.
comics, and then you see his real life and it's just a nightmare shit show and he is bullshitting everyone.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Which
like
is
I think they
that's
do
just
a
truth.
really good job of covering a lot of that stuff. And again, I think Bernthal is a pretty fucking impressive version of a Punisher, a character that I have a complicated relationship with, but what I think is done
I'm
well
worried
can
if
be
people don't have a complicated relationship with him.
uh but I think that when he is done really well, he can be a very, very interesting thing. And to me is sort of like at a certain point becomes the actual like our mass vigilante is good conversation
Yes.
because as long as you have like a strong-willed, strong jawline guy who's like, and I won't break the rules. Like when you have a second guy who's like, well, I do, and you're lame, and now everybody thinks I'm cool. Like
Yeah.
that is like the American comic book, in the last half century, in its entirety.
Oh, 1,000%. The thing that I always appreciated with Daredevil was its ability. I mean, it was really the filming quality in those first two seasons it's so good. Like,
Oh, this is the other thing that's funny to me with them bringing that show back is like this is the subtext. They made a bunch of big things. They kept spending money. They did a bunch of very expensive TV shows. All of those things sort of scraped out. What is really like, and at this and have not really, maintained good reputation. Meanwhile, they buried these five kind of like salacious things from Netflix as sort of a like I can't believe what a horrible mistake we made, and it's just been funny to watch them dig the corpse back up and go, never mind, people still think of your shows fondly and they don't the rest of our stuff. And then they open up like, wait a minute, is street level crime and with lots of like sex and violence and fight scenes much less expensive than doing massive alien
that's
CGI? Wait a minute,
always
will
what we
people
want.
watch it just as much even though it costs much less?
This is what we always want.
Yes.
I
It's
don't
funny because again, it
understand.
all goes back to like exploitation and the fucking genre shit that I love is like all these things, it's what's great with every version of genre. It can go as big as it wants, and I love it and I celebrate it. And when it gets to sometimes it truly flies and makes magnificent stuff. But ultimately, like you always gotta remember that like that fucking hole in the sky from the Avengers and like an uncut fight scene in a stairwell are the same level of entertaining.
1,000% and way more affordable. Like
Yeah.
it's the same thing with Star Wars, right? Which is like the thing we finally figured
It's
out. It is just
almost
like,
like practical effects is not just like a use once and destroy
yes,
puppet, but instead could just be the human body in motion.
it isn't that wild. Oh my God. Yeah, I can't even do this. Okay.
It's
Uh,
so yeah, again, I started got minutes into the third season, was like, okay, I have about one season of showing me at a time.
yes,
But
I get that. Yeah.
at the same time, like that Born Again looks quite good. So I am curious
Like
about that. And it's
I've only
weird.
3 episodes in, but I like the concept. I mean, it's a little like ham-fisted, the sort of like Trump Fisk thing, but I do like it. That's an interesting
He's the
concept.
best villain the MCU has ever had without
Oh,
question.
yeah,
Like
and
there's
yet they
not
don't know
even
how to
a
use them.
second. Like I don't even know who's competing. It's because it's fucking not any of the ones I can think of. Like he is on another level. Like that D'Onofrio is truly like staggering how fucking good he is in that show.
I mean, this is the classic problem with D'Onofrio is that no one ever appreciates how good he is. It's only
Yeah.
in like review that we talk about how good he is.
It's well, he's back now, and it's weird that like he's the thing that kept going because they did that Echo show that he's
Yeah.
also in. So I do like that they have been like, look, we don't like those things. Keep D'Onofrio on the payroll,
I
like
mean,
Mr.
truly, like
And
it won't happen, but I want him in I want him as Spider-Man. Like,
that'd be amazing. Yeah, it's the problem is he crushed a man's head off with a car door. Um,
yeah, but then he
so they
became
won't let him
president.
near Spider-Man.
Yeah. I mean, he
Like
would have been the Lex Luthor I wanted too,
he
but
like he would have he bashed that man's head in while yelling, "You embarrassed me." I just like you can't let Tom Holland near him. He will crush his fucking head with his fist, and then hopefully a young CGI Miles Morales will go like, "Oh no, Tom Holland's dead."
God, I mean, I just want Miles Morales so badly.
See, to me, with the Spider Verse shit, they've threaded this needle. Like again, to me, there's really in a world where we're getting solid movies like Craven and Morbius, there's no real Spider-Man problems anymore.
Fuck you. All right, let's answer some
Let's
questions.
talk DC. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Sorry, I just need to get. I needed credit somewhere in the nerd sphere because I did a thing.
look, I'm proud of you. I've been trying to get you to watch anything new for years. So the fact that you watched that it's
Hey,
weird that that's where you started, but I'm not going to
it's
complain.
again. I never again. Why did I watch one season of Squid Game? Who could know? This will
God,
date
that show is
itself
so
because I
good.
don't know when this will be. But the I just
This is
earlier
coming out
today
tomorrow,
before.
so
Okay, oh, so this will also be out tomorrow. I do a Jackie and Laurie show episode that will be also out tomorrow. That's at one point Jackie corrects herself about something about Squid Game being fictional and sort of makes it imply that she has thought Squid Game was real.
wait, and then is okay with it?
I interrupted then and go, wait, hang on, we need to clarify.
It's like if you think it's real, why have you not told anybody?
Well, I think in that situation, obviously, Richard, we just assume everyone would already know. So why bring it up? You don't want to
but
seem like
then,
the fool.
but then, what does that
What
say
if
about
that's
her
how?
perspective of the world?
I mean,
Yeah, no, that's fair. No,
lifelong
Squid
comedian,
Games probably
Richard.
exists. Nah, Squid Games is probably real. All right, let's get into this episode. We've got a bunch
Question
of
one:
questions.
how do you feel about Squid Games? Are they
I mean,
real?
honestly, this is the type of questions that we're
Okay,
going to get
bring them
today.
on. Bring it on Discord.
From Senator James Paulson, who asks, if you had to make the Fellowship of the Ring out of DC characters, who would you include?
Ooh, okay.
So we're talking.
Let's start with the hobbits and move outward.
Okay.
Let's start. Let's start at the core with our Frodo Baggins here.
So
And we
here's
should be
my
pairing this with the Bilbo. So let's think.
because here's the thing that makes Frodo and Samwise so important is that they are like wildly unpowered in comparison to everybody else around them. They are the only thing that they have is spirit and like heart, but everybody else. I would say that these are the two that at least cannot have any abilities, but they can't be superheroes because everybody else is going to be powerful around them.
So I would like to present to you my Frodo and Sam.
Please,
My Frodo Baggins,
yeah.
just a young boy trying to make it in this world
Oh my God.
with nothing but his wit. But I present to you Dick Grayson Robin, my offer as a Frodo Baggins.
Oh yeah.
Now I'd like to offer you this, which
Mhm.
is for Samwise Gamgee,
Yeah.
who is a close friend of Dick Grayson's, who similarly is never taken seriously when standing amongst the gods, and that's why my dear friend Gar the Beast Boy, will
Oh,
be Samwise
oh, I
Gamgee.
do love those two together.
Hmm.
Ooh.
Are you listening,
Okay.
Warner Brothers?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that. Okay, so you're Merry and Pippin then. I have the
Please.
easiest casting ever. Uh Merry, Booster Gold, Pippin, Blue Beetle. It
Hmm.
feels like
Loving it. Loving it. Makes all the sense in the world.
a couple goofballs.
A little bit older, kind of got their own thing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It
They can
feels
hold the
like
piece, but not too much.
yeah, 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 exactly. They're not gonna like take away the attention. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, so then oh yeah, are we doing a Bilbo? Who's a Bilbo?
Hmm. Let's see who within
Jimmy
because it
Olsen?
should be like a Bat fam. I'm
Sure.
s- I'm almost leaning towards. I mean, if we're like really casting things here, part of me
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like, is that like an Alfred situation?
Could be or a Commissioner Gordon. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
Okay, let's
that
go Gordon because I got
yeah,
some
yeah.
some ideas for what we could do. I mean,
Okay,
because let's
okay.
face it, Alfred screams make me Elderon. Like just
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. Yeah,
fucking
yeah, yeah.
Alfred runs Rivendell like a motherfucker.
Yeah, that's Elrond. That's an easy one. So does that mean that is Batman Aragorn then?
Well, no, 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 not necessarily.
Okay, I'm listening.
All right, so let's see. Okay, so we do need to figure out a Gandalf though. I think this is probably the toughest spot of the whole thing.
So you need to have a character that has like almost god level powers because he essentially is of a god species.
See, I'm almost to the idea that like if you were gonna put somebody somewhere, that would be where you put Batman.
Oh, interesting because I was thinking Dr. Manhattan, but sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm counting only like core plus Charlton D.
Sure. And not because that's what I know.
Because otherwise I'm dragging fucking Morpheus and shit and I think
Sure.
it's really dumb really fast.
Okay, fair.
Then it's just a team of nine John Constantines.
Okay, fair. Okay, fair. So who's your Aragorn then? We got Batman's going to
Okay.
be Gandalf.
Okay, so again, you got to have some sort of like a young buck who's sort of hiding some shit.
Hmm.
A little bit aloof.
Yeah,
Uh,
could be a
but kind
Green
of
Arrow.
easy to. Oh, actually, it's Oliver Queen.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
right. Yeah,
100% is. It has to be.
which is ironic because he's the Arrow guy. Maybe
Right?
Legolas is then like the Flash.
No, you don't. We don't have to worry about the weapon thing. This is
Okay, okay,
Elseworlds.
okay.
Like, it
Fair.
can be maybe fucking Sauron got shot in the fucking face with an arrow. Like,
Sure.
because then to me, your fucking Boromir immediately becomes Guy Gardner.
Oh, interesting. I was going to go Aquaman, but yeah, that makes sense.
Got to get some duplicitous in there because then you
Yeah,
can make fucking Hal Jordan Faramir later on.
of
It's
course.
like my
That makes a
fucking
ton of
dirtbag
sense.
brother, like it was better than me.
So who's your Legolas? Maybe Martian Manhunter?
Interesting.
Because I feel like that Gimli could be Martian Manhunter too, but
Nah, because you got to have those two go as a bit of a foil pairing. So I'm trying to think who
yeah.
would function good with a Martian Manhunter if you go that direction, which I'm not
Lobo?
against. No, because like he's not like chaotic like that. He's
Sure.
just
Yeah,
more
yeah, yeah.
like a chatty. Because like that act like that would be the other place that I would put Ollie
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
were I to do it. But so who's another like? Oh wait, okay, fine. We're gonna go wild. I'm gonna go wild. Obviously, I'm gonna make that Oberon. Or not
Oh,
Oberon.
yeah.
The that's the one that's the friends with Mr. Miracle, right? The little guy.
Oh my God. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah. Okay, him. Because again,
Wow.
I like the idea that he's sort of chomping a cigar.
So are we doing like Gollum?
Yeah. Okay. Ooh. Okay.
Because I'm like, partly is like, do you just like take everything away from the Joker and make him Gollum?
I mean,
Like,
Joker's not a bad Gollum, like, but
right? Like,
also, like,
because you can
if
do a
you
lot of like the sort of mental breakdown stuff,
but
but
hear me out though. Two-Face feels more Gollumy than the Joker.
oh, you know what? You're right. I mean, there you've already have the built-in like two-side conversation thing. Of course. Fuck, that's so smart. Okay.
Yeah.
Sauron.
Uh, Clayface. That was I don't know.
I was thinking because here's the problem. Do you do is Lex Sauron or is that dark side and Sauron is
Oh
Lex
yeah, no,
Luthor?
Saruman. Lex is Saruman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Sauron is
Feel like
dark side then?
you've been weirdly pro Lex Luthor twice so far this episode. Is there some political stuff you'd like to talk about?
Look, I'm just as tech savvy and loving of capitalism as the next guy. And then Aowen we need.
Oh yes. Let's
Is that
see.
is that Wonder Woman?
Mm, I'm leaning more towards like maybe a Black Canary situation.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I
That'll
mean,
get
it
me
also
torqued up.
sort of fits with the Ollie thing, which I wasn't even planning on.
But look at that. Look at that. It works out perfectly.
Hey, oh, Dr. DC, I feel like I got to report this on this show.
Ah.
So I have been slowly sort of like unloading books I no longer need. And I donated a bunch to my classroom, my after school class for kids. And two of the books I donated were my Marvel and DC encyclopedias, circa Costco
Oh.
20, I don't know, 2007.
I've got one right here. Yeah.
And the funny thing has been is that the DC one gets hit way harder than the Marvel one,
Yeah.
which
Because
kind
it's
of shocks me.
edgier.
I guess, like, yeah, it's the weirdest thing, but like, yeah, I find kids looking through that one way more. Now, I will say, you know what? In neither book, they want you to do is explain to them who they're looking at.
Yeah, kids don't like that.
I had the most old guy moment the other day where a kid was going, "Hey, son, you know who that is? That's a fella named Lobo. You know what his deal is? He's the Deadpool of DC Comics.
Yeah. He's got a frag.
He's yes, it is kind of 90s, but
Yeah.
that's sort of the appeal, isn't it? No,
No,
you seem sort of tired, like a Bart Simpson bootleg shirt. Oh, well, that felt kind of personal and cruel. Why don't I go fuck my stroke CD?
Oh my God. Yeah, no. Look, kids will hurt you in ways that you were never expecting to. So you just don't. I saw Jordan Morris was on was it Mythical Morning or whatever.
Mhm.
I saw a clip from that where some kid fucking decimates him and says that he looks like who's the big guy from Harry Potter, the beard.
Oh, Hagrid.
He said he looks like Hagrid if he got queer-eyed.
Fuck, that's so funny. God damn.
It fucking decimates him.
Fucking second plane hits tower. Jesus.
Yeah. It was great. All right. I think we've done the fellowship.
All right.
Next question comes from a Fingers Grayson who asks, "Give me your most cursed team up between a male and female character without resorting to a bueno excelente sexual assault situation."
Yeah. Hmm.
So, who's a bad team up with a lady character and a male character that we can put into this? I mean, the Joker and any woman is always bad. I think.
I got one that's just like would just be an unpleasant pairing, and that would
Sure.
be. I feel like I'm hitting him twice already this episode, but one Guy Gardner and Big Barda. She does not suffer fools, and he is a fool.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. I like that.
That's
I
too
think.
earnest of an answer. I like just genuinely thought about my DC Comics knowledge. I just use the fact that I enjoy comic books to have an opinion on a question.
I know. Look, this podcast will take the best of us. So. Okay. What's other really bad pairing? Ooh, maybe. Yeah, I mean, yeah, anybody in Big Bardas. Maybe the Riddler and Starfire. You have like a dumb genius versus a genius airhead. Like,
I can't imagine like Lois Lane and Aquaman like are super like chatty if they hang
interesting.
out.
yeah, what do they talk about?
Because
Yeah.
like Aquaman seems like a real sort of like I'm not here to talk kind of guy.
Sure, or that he's like, yes, you are Superman's queen, and he's just like, what fucking? She's like,
Yeah,
no,
just
I'm my
like-
own woman.
In my mind, this is a real like Margot Kidder talking version of Lois Lane, where it's just
I
like,
mean-
what are you even doing here?
Sure. Lara Flees and Huntress, maybe. We have an Orange Lantern, Greedy Goblin versus a no bullshit vigilante. That's a good team up. Those are some cursed ones, I think. Two yeah, two characters that shouldn't meet up, I think. Lobo and Zatanna could work. Though I just want to see those two together, to be honest.
Yeah, I think they just like, but that's like a weekend.
That's just fun, I
It's just
think.
like there's a remember that movie Nine Songs? It's that, but with
Oh.
Zatanna and Lobo.
I like that. No, those are
I got a loose bag of references that are just the Richard bag. So
look. You got the right audience here.
there's a window of a specific Spin magazine adjacent references from the mid
Yeah.
2000s that need to be exercised.
Oh my God, you throw some alt press in there, and I'm fucking here for it, baby. All right. Next from Mars, who asks, so if cocaine gives Snow Flame fire powers, I don't know if you do know this character, Snow Flame.
I
This
do
is
not.
this is a deep cut DC character that when they do cocaine, they get fire powers. So this is actually a
You're
good
like
comp.
walking into your parole fucking on fire. Like, no, I'm keeping my shit straight.
Now I'm
No,
good.
I did not do cocaine at a strip club. Why do you ask? Oh, because I'm on fire and covered in glitter.
Yeah, kind of gives you away. This is a good Kyle question, though. What powers would other drugs grant you?
Oh, here we go.
I was like, I know who the good audience is for this question.
But I also think it's like fun to like do things you don't expect. Like, what if like in the DC universe, like bath salts give you like soup the limitless genius for like 20 minutes?
I mean, we all know that that's Adderall. Uh,
But again, that's just in the real world. I want
yeah,
this
that's just
world.
true. It's great.
Or like the idea that like there's certain mushrooms that would then like allow you to like fall
Mhm.
in and out of dimensions, but like, what happens if
Sure.
you fall into a dimension that doesn't have those mushrooms, man?
Yeah, that's uh yeah, psilocybin cosmic awareness,
Or
like that's
like the idea of like a time travel joint.
ooh. I mean that's yeah, that actually works, I think, as like a yeah, like a
It's like a little pipe and you like a like how like those locks that have the rolling numbers on them, like
sure.
you
Oh
roll
yeah,
a
yeah,
date
yeah.
on there, years, days, month, and then like put some stuff in it and it
Oh,
just like
that's
travels you back.
good. Oh, that's good. I like that.
The only problem
Um
is it's always stuck the day before the Kennedy assassination.
Why do I keep coming here? Uh do you like that book?
I've never read it. Actually, that's not true. I started it. You ever like do something incredibly ambitious in the wake of something, knowing that it will have
Yeah,
no
no, I've
legs?
never done this.
Tough and fair. So when I went to Dallas many years ago to do stand up at the Addison Improv,
Mhm.
the number one priority for me in visiting Dallas, Texas, was to get a motherfucking selfie on the grassy knoll. I've wanted that since I was old enough to understand irony.
It's a great
And
headshot. Yeah, I love that.
and so went out there and then did the book depository museum and did all the different pieces there and just like really like got a lot out of the experience of it. And I've lost my train of thought because my brain just always floods. The problem is there's so much to talk about there that I like want to say everything and I can't because like it was the greatest thing. There's a fucking X on the road so you can see the exact spot where it
Really?
happened.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. The entrance is hard to find, and the people who sit outside selling books about how this building is full of lies will not tell you where the entrance is.
That's
Uh,
fucking hilarious.
there is the window where you can stand at it from like where he was at, and you watch a loose collection of dads just standing around pretending like they're not thinking if they could take the shot or not. Like, and then you get into a room that fucking is just like, well, here's like the six conspiracies we'll acknowledge might be a thing. And it's just wild because it's just like, I've never run into a room in a museum that felt like the room was smoking a cigarette.
Oh my God.
So
That's
I
fucking
don't know where we
incredible.
were before, but I'll need to get back there. But that's what happens every time I think about that goddamn museum is it's one of the most interesting afternoons I've ever had.
How is that not a part of a bit that you do?
Oh, it is. It's in the
Oh,
new
okay.
stuff. It's because
Oh,
people don't know because I haven't recorded an album in 6 years.
yeah. There we go. All right. So drugs that give you powers.
Oh, that's what it was. Oh, so I came back from that and I started listening to the book on tape for the Stephen King thing. Got about 2 hours in and was like, well, surely I will pick up this 41-hour book at some point again. And that was in 2018.
I treated the TV show like that as well.
Yeah.
Uh, Heroin, astral projection.
Yeah. Or like sends you to hell. That just feels like a very like Hellblazer thing where there's like hell
Yeah,
heroin,
I mean that is
Helloween,
very Constantine
and you
coded
just
for
go
sure.
into like a fucking weird like heavy metal hell. And it's all these like people who are dead on heroin.
Sure. Yeah. No, no, no. That makes sense. Uh, any other good drugs that will do
Actually, we do
stuff?
like a cool like ghost heroin thing too. Like it gotten too far away from the metal, but like you think of all those like New Orleans metal bands where it just sounds like a graveyard that is having a terrible day, and like that'd be pretty cool.
That's a great description of that.
Thank you. It's shout out to the fucking bands I Hate God and Acid Bath for giving me
Hell yeah.
inspiration there.
Maybe acid could do like illusions,
I actually think Acid should you know have
reality.
some sort of like wacky thing.
Oh.
Like
Sure.
you never know what it's gonna do. Like you take it and then it's like it's does something have that thing where like it's a drug you take and you get some superpower for a little while. Like you don't know what you're gonna get or the severity of what you're going to get, but like you'll get
Oh, I mean,
something.
that sounds a little bit like the Dial H. Have you ever read
Yeah,
those?
that's what I'm
Yeah, yeah.
thinking of. That's the one.
Yeah, yeah, Dial H, fuck yeah. Yeah, I don't know that would work. Uh, did you watch that movie, The My Old Ass, yet? The
Not
Aubrey
yet. I
Plaza?
hear it's quite good.
So good. Oh, it's so good.
I love me some Aubrey Plaza, so I will get there
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
eventually.
I mean,
Platinum
that is
Wow
also
herself.
there's the sort of framing of that thing is a very Kyle thing, I think, which is like they're like, well, I don't look anything like you because they just chose an actress that doesn't look like her, and they're like, yeah, I changed, it's fine. Like, like they so quickly just go like, fuck you, that's why it's a
The
different
best.
actress, which I like a lot. All right, let's go to the next question. From Omir they he who asks if you could insert oh god well I don't know if you can answer this question if you could insert one recurring Doctor DC character into the DC canon, which would that be, and
It
who would
would
you
be
want to
me,
write?
obviously.
Yeah, yeah, obviously,
Like I
in
would
like a
just
Grant Morrison esque.
God damn. Oh yeah, I'd be walking all around those books, just like in the cafeteria of the Justice League satellite, like just sort of in the back, like just reading a copy of Our Band Could Be Your Life with my knees up, like just behind Hal Jordan talking to somebody.
And you'd be like, hey, man, you've ever checked out this book? It's pretty great. And they're just like, we're fighting
And
crime.
they're
Like,
like, "Do you work here?" I'm like, "No, I don't."
also, the toilet's plugged. Later.
The toilet's plugged and your internet is full of pornography.
Yeah. Our internet is, or did you fill it with it? That also just feels like a Tom King book now. Yeah.
Oh, I'm reading Supergirl right now.
Oh, it's so good, right?
Yeah, I've loved it so far. Andy Ashcraft, Jackie Haitian's husband, and also a human unto himself. The last time I was hanging out with him, we were talking about Tom King because I was saying how I am less wowed by the Vision book because I read Mr. Miracle first,
Yes.
and they both kind of do the same magic trick. So I
Yeah.
think like when you read one, it really kind of like you can't get that magic trick a second time.
That's
And then we are
that's
talking
fair.
about like, is he a magic trick guy? Like, or has he evolved in other stuff? Because he's had a couple of books that like the Atom one that was like, all right, dude, you're getting a third bite of this fucking apple.
Yeah,
You got
yeah,
to try a
yeah.
different game now. And then Andy was like, oh, you should do Supergirl because he is playing a different game. And I like because it's very much not that. And I know he can do other stuff because I really liked fucking Sheriff of Babylon.
Well, this is the
So
thing.
like,
Yeah.
so I know it's in there, but he definitely like hit a while where he became sort of like this. I don't know what it is. I just call it the Tom King trick, where it's like I took a thing. It's sort of like it's a little bit in the same vein as like the Alan Moore trick, where again you're describing condescendingly someone who is very good at writing a comic book, but like where it is a little bit of like, oh, I see what you've done here. Like
It's about bringing like
your
humanism and
clever
like
postmodernism is observed.
yeah, yeah. You're bringing monotony into like extreme situations, which I think like it's
Instead of
somebody
being gritty, you're gonna make it boring and a little bit sad, which is like
and
fine.
that's
The
life. And I
first
think like
and the first time you see it, you're like, this is profound. Like Mr. Miracle is one of my favorite comics, but it
a
is
thousand
funny like
percent.
over time. It's again, I wish people hadn't told me to go read the Vision because it
Well,
was
this is the
almost
problem because once you realize that he's done it more than once, you're like, oh, it's his less special now.
it
It's
is.
more of
Like
just
I
like
definitely
that's
feel
just what
that
he
way.
does.
The Mr. Miracle book like used to be something that I truly would kind of lose my mind over like how amazing this is. And then like sort of subsequently I was like, oh, I feel kind of stupid now
I mean,
because
it's
like
yeah, like it's how I felt playing the second Spider-Man game where I was like, oh, it's just all right, it's just more of that. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Like I liked the first one so much more, and I'm like, yeah, this is just more of that, I guess.
That second one's like secretly the most expensive thing ever made.
Really?
Yeah, I believe it's like nobody's really reported on like what its final like legit. Don't worry, I believe Grand Theft Auto 6 will replace it, but like
That's
right now, I think
also
it's like
wild because it's like the same map. Like,
I don't know, like I don't know
what
what
the
to tell you.
fuck?
It's
That's bizarre. All right. Who would I choose from our stupid canon?
they did
Our
make it
stupid
4K.
podcast? Nice. Oh, you know what? I'll throw back. I want to add Super Todd into the DC canon. So Kyle Super Todd is like a Jimmy Olsen type character that we've had for years, who's like extremely anxious, clumsy, and disorganized. And he somehow got to work at the Justice League, like kind of like your thing.
I love Super Todd.
Yeah, Super Todd's great. Everybody, none of our listeners like him, especially Reed. He is completely.
I'd like to present you 9-panel grid. It opens with one panel that just says, "My name's Todd." And then the next picture is a Mr. Coffee. And the next picture is like a gummy bear or some shit, but it's like super close up.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah,
I want to write a script for DC so I can just have or some shit is a like, direction in my script.
That does feel like a thing. You know what? I was gonna say that's King-esque, but no, that's wholly. That's like if you took.
I think if there was an artist with a very good sense of humor, we could have a great time. Because
this does
I think
feel
if,
like
left to my own devices, just trying to make one single person laugh as a document, we could have a great day.
That's all I've ever wanted. I think you are, if you took Morrison and Tom King and put them together, and with a little bit of Lemire.
Bunch less money.
Well, yeah.
I'm joking. But no, that's probably kind of my big three these days. Like if I'm on, and then but then the class of a Gail Simone.
Of course, we would want that. I mean, look, this podcast loves Gail Simone because she once tried to convince me to make a rap album with her. So
look, she's very wise, and I think you should do that.
Yeah, trust me. I wish, but I was too nervous. All right. Next question comes from the constipated Gandalf. It shall not pass. Who asks? What DC Comics gadget would you monetize?
Oh shit! Oh, that's good.
I mean, does the mother box count as a gadget, or is that just a godly I mean, technically, it is scientific.
I did get my mother box with the sharper image. But it's a weird Dutch one.
Yeah, it's called Father Cube.
I mean, I'm trying to think I feel like Bruce Wayne has so many pieces of small technology that if put into commercial uses would be just if you think about the small amounts of controlled tiny demolitions he has and the way that could revolutionize the home renovation market.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. In very small spaces, being able to take down just precise amounts of material is great.
Yeah, he's got goos that can freeze and melt shit just sort of on hand in ways that can be used in a travel kit. These are products that are, a lot of different people would be interested in.
Oh yeah. Oh, I like that idea. Yeah, no. That's
the idea if Batman started selling surplus Batman shit to some kind of weird radio show. Because no one would think that the real Batman would be selling bootleg Batman shit to weirdo Batman fans.
Sure, yeah.
Guys, if you want to keep Gotham safe, you got to get yourself a pair of gauntlets.
All right, sharks, hear me out. I do like that idea. Ooh, you know what? Mr. Terrific.
Problem is, People's Joker just makes me want to do weird bullshit with the DC universe now.
Yeah, it's all we should do.
Have you guys seen that? Have you seen that yet?
I've seen clips of it. I haven't seen the whole thing.
Dear God, see it. It's great. Yeah. And then please do it. Both of you watch it and then let me on to talk about it because it's the only conversation I've not gotten to have about it is the weird DC elements of it.
Sure. And yeah, Reed needs to be in there. Yeah.
It is. Again, I think just one of the most interesting movies I've seen in a decade, just because of a lot of movies really shittily try to express one of like 10 ideas this movie is doing really interesting things with. And
I
like
mean,
one
yeah,
full lane of it is just the DC of it all is so fun because like not only does it like it's this representative of what it is, but also like they all kind of make sense in a way where you're just like, oh, it's actually like it's not Escape from Tomorrow where it's doing kind of like hacky jokes about
sure,
Disney in this
yeah,
thing where you're just like, you did a magic trick. Why did you make it shitty? Like, whereas this one's like, you
yes.
did a magic trick and you made it not shitty and instead quite good. Like,
Oh, that's
like better
interesting.
than I could possibly expect it to be. Like this, your thing should be a novelty. And instead, it's like a whole real ass movie.
Well, and that's what I want. Like that was the problem with that was like, it's like yeah, okay, you broke into Disneyland.
What a
Now what?
fucking bummer. Like, I wanted
Yeah.
to love that movie so hard.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah, I remember. Fuck, that was a long time ago now, but yeah.
You know what's crazy? That was basically the same time as Tangerine. So it's because like those are both movies I got kind of
Oh.
fascinated in that kind of like how we start shooting shit more illegally kind of era.
Well, yeah.
And
Oh, are you telling me you like a thing where you have to spend very little money to DIY it, and also it's illegal?
yes, look, doing things legitimately requires money that I will not have.
Look, I fully appreciate it. Yeah, that's yeah. Fuck that. Yeah, that movie's great.
Yeah, but it's where were we back to at the beginning of this? Is
Oh,
the
yeah. Gadgets from DC that you want to monetize.
does like Go Fast Flash Juice count as a product, or did they never like recreate that?
No, so they did. There is fucking it's some bullshit name like X
Because like
fucking juice or
super
whatever.
shoes of some sort, like flash based shoes.
Yeah. That super fast shoes I think could work. I think the problem is it would fuck up your legs. You'd need to have something that actually changes your like
That's
genetic
true. That's
makeup.
true.
Uh, no, Mr. Terrific's T spheres I think is almost something we already have,
That's true.
which
That's also not
because
bad.
it's like a personal AI. We already have that holographic display. I mean, we have these in separate pieces: security and surveillance, smart home integration, health monitoring. I mean, it can do a lot of stuff we already got. I think.
Yeah, this is good. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the
Also,
next.
like, again, Bruce Wayne has a lot of private flight systems he's not letting out of his
You know what's so funny? We talked about this the other day, which is that it's funny that he has so many like different transportation systems, and yet the Robins don't have really anything. Like they all just get.
motorcycles, and that is all.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's like everybody that's part of the Bat family gets a motorcycle, and then he gets everything else. I guess he's the one who's got the money.
I don't know how it ended up being part of my algorithm, but one of the ads I get on Instagram is for a flying one man hovercraft that you can commercially purchase.
Okay, I have definitely gone into a rabbit hole with those the little like fan like planes that you can make where it's like
Mm.
you buy like a giant fan and then you just put like wings up. There's like a kit that you can buy now that
Oh,
makes those little
interesting.
like one person little like propeller like it's like essentially a fucking kite with a fan on
Us
it.
fucking around with airplane travel or like flight at that tier seems ill-advised,
Well, and
but
here's the
like
thing:
I
you
understand
don't
the
even need
appeal.
like a license. Like you can literally just buy the kit and go out into the sky today.
Yeah, but that's sort of what I'm getting.
Yeah.
I just feel like I would love for the sky to perhaps be regulated more like the ground instead of like guns.
Easy, America.
Exactly, that's the problem.
Yeah, fair.
And so yeah, it's that's the flying car. It's weird that I'm now having a flying car advertised to me, and I'm just like, I don't want this.
Yeah, I mean, there's clearly the world doesn't need this. What we needed was just self-driving. That's all anything anybody ever
It
wanted. Have you
does
done a
feel
Waymo
like
yet?
no, which one's that?
The Waymo is like the new like self-driving kind of taxis that are
Oh, those things. No, I have not
yeah.
yet. I remember I'm a Southern California boy, so I drive my car around.
Sure. Yeah. But I do know they're in LA now, but
Look, I'm sure that I will get drunk and vomit in a Waymo one day.
yeah, they haven't really dealt with that. The car doesn't go like, "Hey, not in the car. I'll pull over."
It's I mean, it's also like I fought the driver. I feel pretty embarrassed. What they don't tell you is those cars are transformers.
I thought you were gonna say transphobic.
No,
only
I'm always
allowed
glad
two
when I
genders
can
in this
zag
car.
No, instead it's always like there's only one ass in this car and it's yours getting kicked. Wah, 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 wah.
There's only one ass. Yep, there's two sounds in this car: you paying me and me kicking your ass. Okay, next question from Cosmic DM Crunchy, who, oh, I mean, this is a question for Kyle. Would you ever, I mean, God, this could be your plug section mid episode. Would you ever consider being a publisher for an indie comic book?
I sure would. It's called Huzzah, and it's out very soon. Uh, yeah, I've been working on getting into the world of comic book stuff for a few years now. I did a comic called Tales from an Analog Future
Mhm.
briefly with artist Sean Otwell. And
Great
because
logo. I'm just gonna say that.
Oh yes, Richard did the logo. It's cool. I'm gonna put the four stories that got made. Two got turned into a physical comic that exists, and then
Oh,
the other
and
two.
that sci-fi show that I made a logo for inside of
That
that
episode,
comic.
that issue never got made.
Oh,
That was
we'll have to use it for something else.
someday it'll get used. Like there's no ideas to get thrown away. But like I did that piece, and then I have always sort of I started drawing in 2020 so that I did not kill my family and self well in lockdown.
In
And
that
then it
order.
sort of turned into a flipped that into sort of a lifelong love of comics. And I used to make the joke when I worked at a comic book store and for the Nerdist back in the day, the only two kinds of celebrities I get nervous around are rappers and comic book artists because I think they're the only
Yes.
two jobs I respect.
Yeah. And
Every other
desperately want
job
to
I
be good
think is
at.
secretly dumb. Those are the only
Yeah.
two heroes. Those guys and firefighters. End of list.
Yeah. Look,
But
and only one of those jobs do we not want you to pretend to do.
yeah, and so something I've always loved, and I have been such a little book learner with all this stuff that I don't know I've started a Substack that will be launched soon.
Hell yeah.
And one of the things I want to do with it long term is be able to show off some of like the books and ways I learned to draw because I had no real skill going into this and really feel like I got a solid education for like, I don't know, like less than $300 worth of books all told on
Fuck.
eBay.
It's
So like
so funny, yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that like I would like to pass on. Like the one that I'll do is a shout out here because it's very much how this book came to happen is a book called Writing with Words, Drawing with Pictures. That is by this couple who both do comics. I'm forgetting both of their names right now, but they're both very good. It's a 15-week course working on like learning to make comics and how to think through the different pieces of it's fucking phenomenal. That one and Ivan Burnetti's Comics Guide and Philosophy are both like books that I think if you are specifically in art interested in cartooning, which was very much like at a certain point I realized like, well, I like all this stuff and I like painting and I like doing these things, but like the reason I would draw long term would be like to try to make comics. And there's such a specific approach to making comics. And like I learned so much, again, I'll shout out to this as well as Cartoonist Kayfabe, the YouTube channel, RIP, is such an infinite well of fucking information. And the sort of like kind of like with stand up, but it's weird because like when I started with stand up, I was never like a hardcore stand up fan. I didn't dislike it, but I had no like deep love for it.
Sure.
And so part of what has always been fun about stand up is like a thing I'm doing that like feels very personal because I don't have like the growing up a kid dream to it. It's purely kind of an adult interest.
Yeah.
And so like as an approach, like I've always kind of liked that I have this sort of like vague detachment to it because it sort of like has let me sort of like go my own way with shit to a certain extent. Comics, it's weird because instead I have the most reverence in the world. Like they're the best thing ever, and they're great. And so I love the history of them from fucking Crazy Cat and like old world, Gasoline Alley and shit, all the way through to like EC and the sort of like pre-comic, superhero world of stuff, all, through Silver Age, like, even the evolutions of like indie books, from your Elf Quests and your fucking Faust through your Eight Balls and your, fucking the rest of the 90s. My brain couldn't decide which to go with. It was like, but again, and even to now, like in the 2000s, having things like Hark a Vagrant, fucking break my brain, and go like, oh my God, like there's a layer, that and Perry Bible Fellowship were massive influences on me trying to do a funny comic. Because it's like they don't really do those anymore, but that was like a whole genre. So part of my fascination with trying to do Huzzah was like, how do I make a thing that feels in conversation with the history of comics so that I feel like I'm doing something interesting with it, but at the same time that like is shit I'd like to see. So it became this weird thing of like, well, like let's do like a funny like talking animals book, but do it by way of like, kind of like 90s cartoons and alt culture stuff. So I keep making the joke that like it's basically like what if Garfield was set in Daria? A question everyone has always asked since the dawn of time.
The perfect. I've
So
been
yeah,
trying.
and
Is it Darfield or is it Garia?
Garia. It's got to be Garia.
Yeah.
Like as much as I love Darfield, Garia is just fucking that's gold.
Just
And
throw
so
in a
yeah, it's
character that's named Darfield one day.
three little animals live in the town of Huzzah with an exclamation point like the band against me.
Of course.
And it's Lester Gatorman, Marty T Dog, and Jules, no last name, spelled with a Z.
Perfect.
And they are
Obviously.
just a trio of friends. They're little creatives in their town trying to just sort of do their thing and make sense of life. And there's the wacky inhabitants of the town. It's aggressively Springfield and Simpsons inspired, along with like kind of all that shit that I love.
I
Again, there's a lot of eight ball and a lot of, hate and a lot of, just, dirty plot and shit like that. That's like, I love those. Here is a point of view kind of thing, but also like, instead of making it purely about me, like letting it be this little, universe of like, what's the weird bullshit that would be in my brain?
I mean, it's funny because you did a thing that I think is on the outset seems like not a challenging thing to do, but it's I think a thing that people really do struggle with, which is like how do you make a thing that you would like to make rather than a thing that you would like to be seen making? And I think
Yeah.
that's a
I think the
hard
key
thing
is
to.
have the world end a little bit and have all of your career go away. And you will gain an incredible clarity about how little anything matters. And once you get over the crippling, blinding, debilitating sadness of that, you will think about a little dog and what him and his bird and alligator friend might do if they lived in a sort of like hipster town with its own universe of characters.
I mean, I'm so glad that you're doing this because I think it's such an easy thing to feel like if you are not the best at a thing, you shouldn't participate in it. And I
Yeah.
think like I had that with music for a long time, and I think like you shouldn't be invited to the party because you're not the best at it. And I think like it's so easy to be like I can't make comics because like I
We
don't know how
exist
to
the
write or
sort of
draw. Or,
social media world of superlatives is so that it sort of just like puts nothing but A plus papers on the wall or
yeah,
like F minus papers. And like
yeah.
most of the world is somewhere in between those two things. And it's been sort of heartening to sort of like remind yourself of the, I think like, especially like some of the jobs I've had where like you are somehow feel like you are have wandered into being part near the center of the sun in a way that sort of like is weird as shit. Like can really like fuck up a young man's
Yeah, I
perspective
can
on the
imagine.
world. And so it's been weird to sort of like reconnoiter my visions of the world in a way that are actually not upsetting at all because like instead the goalposts are pulled way closer. And I think there is something too about like just being able to make something like soup to nuts yourself and sort of decide when it's going to be and like make all the choices. Because I think the other thing too is it's really easy for me to be like, well, I can't do it because I've got this or this, or like when I finally do X, Y, or Z, then I'll be ready to do A, B, and C. And I think like instead, for this book, I was telling Richard, I did a Christmas special. I started on December 4th and was like, I wonder if I can finish this by Christmas Day. Can I get an entire comic done in the 12 days of Christmas? And I was like, let's see if I can do 6 pages in the 12 days of Christmas. And then it was like, fuck that. Let's do 12 pages in the 12 days of Christmas. I've not done more than like a 1 page comic, like kinda ever. So already, like, I feel like I've gone insane, but like sort of figured it out and made it make sense and sort of like just let myself stumble through it. And I made it a little dumb kind of Christmas story thing. It was heavily influenced by like the Spirit of Christmas, the South Park special,
Oh,
where it's
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like very much a just sort of like putting it all on the table and seeing what it looks like. And it's fun because like it feel even after doing just one more issue post that it feels you'll see how that first season of The Simpsons has that weird dissonance because you really do have to like see it in front of you a bunch before it starts to really coalesce. I've just
Come
finished
here,
the
boy.
first issue proper of the series. Again, they're going to be 12 issue things, but or 12 page pieces because that's
Yeah.
sort of what I can do in 2 months.
Sure.
But like, well, also like maintaining a job and a life and a separate stand-up career that is not yet intertwined with it. And so, even now, like it's making more sense. And I don't think had I just sat and outlined and kept figuring these things out, like it would have worked the same way. I think I also like I was talking to my friend Julie Prescott about this, that like it's hard to be bad at something that like you want to be good at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like and especially like the older you get, the harder it is to like get over
Fuck.
your pride and just like let yourself be a little shitty at something. And like the
Yeah.
Christmas special's a fucking mess, but there's like moments of transcendence in it. And like it has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it is printed out and stapled, and it has a cover, and god damn it, it's a physical product and not like an idea of something that could have been better. And that was a big deal. And that was huge. And I think especially like, it's been 6 years since I've done a record. I have not done a lot, like I've done a lot of like creative ventures, but like not a ton of stuff that's either like directly me. It's a lot of like producing things, or it's sort of
Mm.
like abstract stuff, or it's like things where like by the time it came to, I did like Haunt Season, which is a 7 minute special I did inside of a haunted house a few years ago. And like
So fucking good.
by the time it came together, it was kind of like all happening at the same time. And so it was one of the things where it's like, again, that is a project that is in no way, shape, or form dead. And I'm thrilled that it exists the way it does, but it's one of those things like this time it's nice to be like, oh, I'm coming at this with a little bit more grown up of a start instead of just sort of midway through the run going like, oh, I'm also doing this now, and like picking up like a sword. And they're like, what's a sword from? Like, I don't know, I'll tell you later. When the race is halfway over. Uh, but so it's been kind of cool figuring out that stuff. And also like, you know, knowing what a fucking shit show entertainment is right now. And I don't say it like in a way that is
Yeah.
heartbreaking. But
Yeah.
I mean for myself on some, but also like the sheer amount of people I know who are not working, who are struggling to find work, who are the smartest people I know, and not just like
Yeah.
writers, but I mean like techs. Like, there's sound people I know, there's fucking light people I know, camera people I know who are just trying to find shit because it's a weird feast and famine game. And the fact that like you know it was it's hard to like watch the cave door collapse because you're like, no, but there was a fortune in ruins in there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you sort of be like, all right, well, we are alive and we've escaped, so I suppose we'll like wander through the desert and find what the next thing is. And then sort of finding that like now I say all this as someone who has not gone to a single convention as like a tabler or been around another person who makes comics who isn't like
Sure.
way out of my depth. And so, there is this sort of thing of like, I am kind of curious, but I'm hoping that similar to stand-up where I thought everyone would be mean and instead I made my best friends in my entire life. I'm hoping this will yield something at least vaguely similar.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know a lot about the actual like one of the independent scene or like I just don't know a lot about what that
They're
universe is
mysterious.
like. Yeah, it's funny because like Reed
Which
and I have
also that's the
gotten
weird thing is like I feel like when I see stuff like and now I'm sort of like embracing it instead of feeling self-conscious about it, but like I feel like what I'm doing, and it's not consciously, but it's also that unconsciously, but like it feels so uncool and out of like, step with what like an indie comic seemingly is, which to me is like somebody with a really like clean art style doing something like very personal.
sure, yeah.
Like, which,
Yeah, yeah.
which again, nothing against that. I fucking read literally hundreds, if not thousands of comics, which could be described exactly as that. But it's
Yes.
like, it's, sort of the same way, like as a comedian, I'm always like, it's always been weird to be like, I don't really have like dating is hard jokes. I have more just like, you want to hear about a weird guy's leg?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and like, I am confident enough that my weird guy leg story is very funny and has secretly like lots of dick jokes in it. So like, we're gonna
Yes.
have a good time. But
Yeah.
like, I am asking for a lot upon first glance for you to buy into before I disarm you. And I'm
It is
hoping
funny
that
with like a
like,
very emotional guy who is struggling with a lot. You don't really put that into your art, like inherently,
I
like on the
I
surface.
I do, but I process pain through humor. I do not process
Yes.
pain
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
also feeling the pain. Like I process the
Yeah.
pain through the humor and then we're good. Like, and I know that sounds weird, but like the longer I like revel in that kind of way, which I think
Sure.
is incredibly cathartic for some people, I find kind of paralyzing and I kind of have to like belittle my fears lest they sort of like overwhelm me. So I've never been good with the sort of
You
like high
bully
pieces like
yourself.
that. Yeah. Well, because otherwise I will just like collapse. Like and
Well, there's
the
something to be
mocker.
said too with just like give yourself the moment to feel a thing and then fucking move on.
Yeah. Well, and it's for me, it's also it's like it's the critical nature of it because it's the thing that made me not scared of shit as a kid eventually is
Yeah.
that it's like, well, if you understand something and can make fun of it, then it doesn't really have power anymore because like it can't have the same power if you're sort of like smirking at it.
Yes, and which is very true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean,
And it's
uh,
like, yeah. And I think like that's the catharsis of me for me is the catharsis of me. That is like when I'm like when I'm throwing out humor, it's often from a place of like, either frustration or pain or confusion or like seeking some sort of like affirmation thing.
mhm.
And like when I watch the audience sort of like collectively react in the way that like I would like them to, but I'm not confident that they am, which I guess is the abstract idea of what a joke is in the first place. Like, and it hits it for me creatively, like that's where the fucking juice is. It's not even like, oh, they laughed. It's like, oh, they laugh in a way that like is cathartic both to me and to them because we are recognizing something that like even if it's stupid has a like
It's
specificity of
human. Yeah.
substance that like and again, I could also just like make dick jokes and sell fucking half price margs and be a way more successful comedian and probably artist in general, probably a better person, but like healthier,
Ugh,
better
but who wants
eyes,
that?
taller, better hair. But like instead, like I need to feel something about it. Like I can't just make this shit for the sake of making it. Like because I
I
guess my
totally
thing
get
is
that.
like everything is sucks and is dumb and is a pain in the ass. So when you're doing like the good stuff, you might as well like really revel in it. Like really like live in that time of the good
Fuck
because like then
yeah.
you have to go back to everything else with just dumb bullshit that I'm doing to get out of the way so I can do the good stuff again.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that good stuff is comics. It's
And that's why
there
you should publish your own indie comic book.
here. Oh wait, I'll do this. I'll do one last thing as I
Sure, do
continue
it.
this plug fest, just because I'm proud of it, and there's so few people I can show it to. This is a binder, and it
Holy
is
shit.
full of the fucking.
Whoa!
This is all I. So I do the whole book on Bristol
Oh
with
my
ink,
God.
and then I digital color. So I scan, but so I have the entire first two issues are in here
Wow.
as like, and there's issue two.
Oh,
So
I
I've
do
got
love it
all
black
the
and white
original
too.
art like and
Oh
so that's
wow.
been kind of cool. It's like being able to like look at because like I've got some artist
Look at
editions
you
at this
playing with
point.
frames. Oh, that's
Oh,
awesome.
it's getting wild. Oh, the next issue two is three short stories. It's each one of the characters gets a 4-page little mini piece. And so for Jules, it's a some kind of monster inside the studio like mock documentary about her working on a single. Lester is on Twitch just playing video games, talking shit. And then Marty, we are inside of Marty's ongoing paranormal detective novel, The Adventures of Martin T. Dog,
Fuck, that's
Paranormal Detective.
amazing.
And those are all going to be these high contrast black and white, like graphic design pieces, basically.
Fuck,
So,
yes.
like, it's all like when he's exploring the house, it's all these like abstract pages of dark and then just putting him around different pieces. So I'm really excited because, like, it's I kind of committed that like I have to keep with grid like just for now to just like basic get the pieces and I built templates like I drew out a bunch of templates so now I just have a bunch of like runoff pieces that are sort of like page setups. Wait a second, I'm gonna do this too. Richard's so trapped right now. uh this I'm trying to do comic strips, so I've got a comic strip one where I
Fuck
light box
yeah.
the boxes. There's my 3 input,
Oh
panorama
wow.
page. There's a sixer.
Those
I
are
got a
so
splash
fun.
page and a 9 panel, and so I've got ones of each. So I just have a fuckload of them sitting around, so I can just pick what I want, and like I can modify them. So like I'll white out part of it if I want to get some sort of interesting box. But like
Sure.
I am fascinated by Rick Veitch because like he's so about breaking the frame, and I
Oh
kind of like
yeah.
admire like some people who really get great with playing that with that kind of stuff and doing some of the design pieces with it. But I also like really kind of the same way I did with art, fundamentally is like I am so glad I made myself like do the vegetables of like really grinding down on fundamentals initially because like the amount of like shape and form and perspective stuff that I can do now in the book because I did the work like has really like paid off. And so that's the same thing as like I'm
Yeah.
trying to like work the grid and figure out the sort of like classical ways to do it so that when I break it, I am doing something that feels interesting and functional towards like the narrative or the visual storytelling and stuff like that instead of just trying to like be flourishy.
I mean, this is the inherently what makes good art in general, which is like the best artists in the world are the ones who know all of the rules and then break all of them, right? Like that's what makes good art. And so I think like, yeah,
It's
that's what you
weird too.
want to strive for.
Manga was a huge kind of game changer on this thing too, which I did not expect, and
Oh,
I feel like you
really?
do not really see in the book. But like, I spent the last 2 years like I eat a lot of dinners alone at night, not to brag. So me and my really old iPad Mini will sit down and like 2 years ago, I started reading Urusei Yatsura, the long-running shonen comedy manga, which was another huge fucking influence on this comic. It's the blue-haired space girl Lum in the tiger bikini. Like, if you've ever seen that, that's Urusei Yatsura.
Jesus.
It is a comedy about just a bunch of like humans and space aliens who are all dirtbags doing stupid shit. It's
Oh,
great.
you say you like that?
Yeah, and then I jumped over and I've been reading Berserk now for a while. And in both cases, like reading that sort of shonen style where it's the sort of like short, contained but serial story
Mm.
elements that sort of like split the difference between like old comics and old TV in a way that feels kind of fresh all of a sudden became another thing of like the being able to do like the short form contained story but that forwards information. And that was when the sort of like 12 pages just felt kind of good because you can kind of get 4 pages of beginning, 4 pages of middle, 4 pages of
Sure.
ending too. So it like splits up nice. Plus, it's like a printable amount that you can do in zine form. You really have to kind of commit to those four numbers.
Yeah, but it's got to be easier to like formulate a story too because you're like literally like you know how it's going
And
to set up.
it's weird too because like there's a lot. If anybody out there has any kind of book about the making of comics, I cannot recommend enough because it took me a long time to really wrap my head around them. Especially if you have any of Dave McKean's books about making The Watchmen, because his are kind of incredible with this.
Oh,
Thumbnailing was such a crazy like thing to
yeah.
finally hit my brain on and like understand because it's just like having that small super rough thing like I would
Yeah.
basically have the whole thing written out in those and then like in the Christmas one the middle just didn't work. So I had to like kill a couple of pages and literally like scratch out and just on another page, like figure out new layouts. And the fact that I had it sort of like on there before I got to doing the full page was such a like, they didn't having to like kill that at the large level. I'm like, oh, I will just have to kill everyone now.
Oh my God. Yeah, I can't even imagine. That's the fucking last Jenga block. Yeah, you don't want that.
And I did not expect the book to end up color, but like I used to try to digital color a page just because it turned out pretty good. And then all of a sudden the book looked like it got like fancier and more
Sure.
legit. So I was like, well, fuck me, I get a color book now. Like it's
Look,
feeling
there's
I'm
a reason
getting.
why I wear a suit to work. It's like
Yeah,
sometimes it's just
sometimes
nice.
it just works. Like it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
the best was like the reaction I've gotten the most is people going, "You made this,"
yeah.
which is the best compliment because it means that it's better than they expect you to be able to be.
And that's what all anybody ever wants, right? Like
And
it's
that's the bar that I'm perpetually battling.
look, I've never been more seen. And yeah, it's exactly what you want.
So
Uh,
yeah, it's my favorite quote these days. You made this when I hand them a copy. Like what?
I fucking love
When you were
that.
out being weird?
Yeah. Oh, weird kid that bullied me in grade school. That I'm talking to you again. Uh, it's funny. This is definitely a conversation that Reed and I have had for years, which is like, do we write something together? I think like we've both wanted to, and I think it's a matter of time for it to happen eventually. But
It's I also like I also at some point the I here I'll say this here too so that I'm responsible for it. My big plan is that when I put out the Analog Future issues, I'm gonna slowly put them out on my Substack. To just like leave Sean's Venmo out there so people can just send him money.
yeah, yeah,
Because like I will say like the other reason I wanted to draw is like that's the one big regret I have about that series is besides the fact that I lost my mind while making it and sort of like fucked off into oblivion for a year or so, is like I do like he worked so hard, especially like knowing like looking at the
yeah.
book I did now, and it's just one of those things where like, and it's right as I have just destroyed lit all my money on fire in a mile of mental illness, and so I do always like hope that like I can get those out. If nothing else, people can see how goddamn beautiful they look and just give him all your money.
Yeah, they're great books. They're great. Yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, but so yeah, so but very much interested. The the publishing world of stuff is still very new and very freaky deaky, and I'm trying to just like get product out there before I start figuring out how to move it on them streets. But I am looking forward to people seeing it because it's this is gonna sound awful. It has been a while since I am like this proud of something.
That's no, that's look. I'm fucking same, buddy. God, yeah. Somebody asked me the last time I made music the other day, and I was like, oh God.
I did it Saturday. My
I
dad
saw,
had his
yeah.
40th sober anniversary, so we played Ball and Chain. It was funny too. So the last time the three of us played that song in a room together was in 2005. So it was
Whoa,
20
20
years later out of
years.
that, which is pretty wild. And my brother was Fred Flintstoning because he had two things the same night that got booked accidentally. So I was doing a lot of shuffling on the front end to make sure that I could get us as much time for him to run in to play drums as possible. But it was very fun. It was sloppy but charming. But I
The
got to
photos look
sing.
great. It made
It,
you look like you were putting your whole heart into
yeah, I
it.
was trying. I forgot how to sing for portions of it, so I listened to the audio of some of it, and there's parts of it where it sounds pretty good, and then two parts where I'm like, "Oh, did I look up pettily how to try to auto tune this video camera audio?"
Fucking
Yes.
been there, buddy. Been
Did I?
there.
No. But was it
I'm
because
proud
it
of
was
you.
not made possible? Yes.
Will I be posting this online? No.
I mean, it hasn't gotten to where it needs to go yet, and that feels a little intentional on my part in a way I feel somewhat guilty about.
Also, your fucking mom throwing the don't you forget
Oh
them.
yes,
Yeah.
just rocking out there. Yeah, no, that was a fun one. But yeah, hadn't gotten to play a ton of guitar as of late, and it's always fun. I think I was talking to somebody, and maybe you have this, but maybe it's
Hmm.
different. Is like I think my problem is like playing guitar is a very like collaborative activity for me.
Thousand
Like if
percent.
I'm playing for me, it's like usually if I'm playing, I want to like play with like playing guitar solo is like fun, but like my version of like fun with music is literally just sort of like jamming with people, like picking a key and just getting fucking weird for 40 minutes.
If I'm playing by myself, I mean, this is my. I mean, we're really getting. God, this isn't even personal confessions month. If we're really getting into it, I have a big problem with creative efforts. Which, if I'm not working toward something specific, I can't really do a creative thing, and so I can't just like do creative for creative purposes. And so, like playing guitar, I'm like, well, if I'm playing by myself, I have to be writing something, and if I have to be writing something, then I should probably have a plan to release something. And then I'm like, well, then what am I even fucking doing? Like, it's
I super get that.
yeah.
That's
Look,
why I always have certain things
hustle
that are
culture
sort of
fucked us.
in that weird middle zone where like I feel like because I'm like don't see myself as a musician the same way anymore, I can like dabble with it with a little less, with like a little, yeah, less trepidation. Now, like, I have been trying now to get back into like utilizing some more of those like skill sets and things like into stuff I do. Cause like sometimes
Sure.
you get that bug. And part of me is like, well, what if I just like figured out ways to integrate some of this stuff without it having to all be the center?
Can I tell you, like, because you're probably one of the only other people I know in the world, maybe that will feel this way, which is, don't you just love that moment in any job you have when people realize you have 1,000 different small skill sets?
It's literally my entire job right now.
Yeah, isn't it the
Literally.
best moment?
Look, I have a bunch of degrees. Knowing how to do five little bullshit things at the same time is the only thing that has kept me employed over the years.
It is a magic. Like it is truly like a magic trick that you can pull out. If we're talking about magic tricks, like that thing you can be like, oh yeah, like I can weirdly do this thing or I can
Yeah.
weirdly do that. It is the best feeling in the entire world when you're just like, oh, like I'm in this meeting and they're like, oh, we need this thing. I'm like, well, I can shoot, record, and do all of that myself. I'll just do it. Like,
That was me kind of that last year at summer camp when they were sort of just leaving me out of my own devices. And I'm
of
just like,
course.
grabbing, leaders in training and making them my weird steady cam crew. And they're just like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm putting them to work.
Yeah. Or I can
Teach
teach
them how to
these
do a
kids how to
crane
make
shot.
art. Yeah, I can teach these kids how to make their own
Look,
comic.
my generation didn't know how to move the camera because we like Kevin Smith. I got to change this for the next
Oh,
ones. You got to understand the camera can move in a comedy.
that's so fucking funny. Holy shit. God. All right, we should answer a few more
I feel like
questions.
so many of my influences are at this point in my life like weird reactions to my old influences.
Fuck. That is levels of true. Jesus Christ. God, that hurts. Ouch.
I had that realization a little bit the other day, and it was like, oh Jesus, I don't
Oh,
regret this, but also like that is what's
ouch.
happening.
Ouch. All right, let's answer a couple more.
Okay.
Dem Jinkies asked, if you were to take one character from DC and put them in a different comic book universe, Who would it be, and what universe?
Ooh, let's see. There's so many different ways you can take it.
Lobo and Archie.
I was gonna Lobo and Spawn. I love that we
Maybe,
were both going the same
yeah.
place. You wanted opposites. I wanted you guys. I want a book that's just them broing down. Like they're just
Yeah.
like in an alley, smoking cigarettes, agreeing with each other.
Yeah, it is cool to be fucking metal. Yeah, hell yeah.
And then they slowly just morph into two guys with beards, and the guy realizing the book is realized he's now Dorian Gray into Lobo.
Yeah, and they watched Deadpool walk by, and they're like, "No, not him."
This is I'm like DC. Come on, let me write your weird meta thing.
What would be
Make
another?
Doomsday Clock. You'll clearly say yes to many things.
um, I mean, there's no way that this hasn't been done, but I actually can't think of an instance. But Doctor Who, I would love to see in the DC world, or vice versa.
Oh, that is kind of fun.
Yeah, that feels like a thing that could be easily done.
Like, and there's different because like Doctor Who and the Endless is fun. Doctor Who and Constantine is fun. Doctor Who and Doctor Fate is fun. Doctor Who and
Yeah,
Santana is fun. Doctor Who and Martian Manhunter is fun.
yeah. Like it feels like
That's a good one. That's the smart way to do it, is pulling like something that's got like a format almost more than a character set.
yeah.
Like, because to me, especially like with when you're taking like something like a superhero, like to just throw it in another superhero thing often to me like feels like sort of just like we put a cape on a cape, and
Yeah.
like instead I'm really proud of that. I wanted to move by it casually, and I need people to know I
Sorry,
feel fucking
I
great about it.
apologize. That is a great
Okay, all right, so let's not go
great
crazy.
bit.
But I think that like something like that, because the other one would be is like, and all right, listeners, if you got this out there, if you feel like sending me it, please let me know, because I would love to read it,
A
and I
bat
do
on a
keep an eye out
bat.
for it.
I'm sorry.
That's a good one too. Is like I've always wanted to read that X-Men meets Star Trek novel,
Oh my
because
God!
like to me
What?
like
That's real?
that's a book that exists somewhere. There's like Star Trek meets the
What?
X-Men in airport
Holy
novel
fuck!
form. It's like a Dell paperback. And like I've seen it over the years and like always thought about it. And I'm like, this won't be good, but it might be great.
Yeah. Fuck, that's good. Um,
Cause like human, and that's because that's the thing is like I would also like want these characters to be very specifically done in the form of the show they're on. Like to me, there's like six like low rent DC characters that would be so fucking good in an episode of Supernatural.
I mean, yeah, baby.
Like you put Starman in a fucking Supernatural episode. Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah, like that good late '90s Starman where he's just sort of a handsome boy. You know, it'd be great with some handsome boys who feel a little supernatural about
yeah,
things.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. No shit. That's. Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. So like
That's.
there's that's to me is almost like and to have like or yeah like or you know it's almost like I want specifically like the DC Berlantiverse characters to go into other TV shows.
I mean, yes. That's.
But mostly it's just I want them all going into the set of the show Batwoman and just see if anybody sort of notices what's going on. A bunch of
Okay.
fucking characters from another show walked in. This show's crazy. I never know what to expect on Batwoman.
I mean, honestly, that's kind of what Legends of Tomorrow is. I mean, you
It's
need
true.
to. You'll get there.
Like Legend of Tomorrow does sort of feel like DC going like, what if we made like Red Ships of Spain but as a superhero show?
Holy shit.
Hey, SNL sketch I seem to be addicted to referencing in the last year.
Yes. You know what? I mean, this is really just like, again, this is your Spawn situation, which is like Swamp Thing in Hellboy.
Fuck, I'd read the fuck out of that. Even though like
Yeah.
that's the most like
Ye-
like as
yes.
advertised product, and I'm still excited at it. I'm
Yes.
still ready to spend money right now.
Yeah.
That's how effective Hellboy is on me. If it does something kind of fun, I'm like, cool, let's give it money.
Yeah. That's all I asked for. Give me an idea.
Hellboy, all I ask is you to exist forever. I just need you to remain the greatest comic for the history of comics.
Look, anything in Hellboy is good.
Shout out to fucking Humble Bundle last year for selling all of Hellboy and all of BRPD at a certain point in their orders. Like that's a fucking what a glorious set that is for somebody to get.
Fuck yeah! I've really got to jump into the Humble Bundle thing. I've
I
never
did
done
not
that.
expect BRPB to be something that I liked as much as I did. Like
Yeah, it's great.
I was not originally going to read it. Like that was another like deep COVID game at one point was like time to dig into the Hellboy continuity and like went fast and then was kind of shocked how consistently good it is. Like that
Yeah.
and at a certain point like you just sort of like lose Hellboy like in even his comics sort of off the radar and BRPG is just busy being an excellent book.
I mean, yeah, I mean, Gotham City PD is a similar thing.
I could
Yeah.
see that. Like, I've never been able to bite anything in the Batman universe that does not guarantee some amount of Batman because I
Yeah, yeah,
simply
yeah.
feel like I'm being denied the product.
Fair. Uh,
But
no, that's
like
absolutely fair.
that's an interesting. That's one of those ones that like I also think like the first wave of that when it's kind of the first book that did that. I do think like was pretty fucking wild.
I mean, it's funny. Reed and I always talk about our favorite thing in any medium is when you like to show me the administrative side of something that's like exceptional.
Well, I mean, yeah, Justice League International is one of my favorite things of all
Yeah.
time because it's like, what if we turned the Justice League into a shitty office job full of
Yes.
like kind of petty adults?
That's all I ever want. I mean, I think I said this to you the other day, which is like, yeah, give me like fucking, give me the Raid Redemption and fucking My Dinner with Andre, and put those two together, and that's all I ever want.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Oh, the question in like the Sin City universe.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be interesting. Like, I like the idea of like the proto Randian
Yeah.
explaining to Edgelord or you know, nihilism. Uh,
You think you know what dark is?
Like, I think what we need that comic is them sitting at a Starbucks, and the
Sure.
whole comic is from the point of view of the woman trying to write her college essay at the table over from them.
Yeah, I like that.
That's
All
a
right.
good, there's a lot of good combos there. Like again, DC travels well.
Look, I mean, this is the thing. I did hear apparently we're getting a new crossover Marvel DC thing this year.
Interesting.
Yeah, like there's gonna be a comic, which we haven't done in like a fucking like 15 years or something like
That's
that.
right, because they really have not. They did not do it in the 2010s. They were
No, no, no,
busy.
no.
Well, they kept rebooting, so everybody was busy with their reboots. Is
Yes.
the 2010s the worst decade for comics ever?
Ooh. I mean,
Like,
I don't know, man. The
and there's
90s are pretty
and
bad,
again,
but
there's great stuff
yeah, yeah,
within the
yeah. There's always
2010s,
good stuff. Yeah, yeah.
but I feel like, and I'll say American comics
Sure.
because
Yeah.
like even within like
Yeah,
the
the fucking
90s,
Tintin ruled those years.
yeah, like when you have like trash in the 90s, but also like Eight Ball and like Sandman
Hmm,
and
hmm.
Preacher. So like there is like even though there's like garbage, there's also like maybe 10 of the best things ever made. Is there 10 like because again, there's not nothing in the 2010s. There's like some stuff I liked, but is there
Oh,
anything that
yeah.
like probably I mean especially if we're talking the big two, then it's like probably less than 10 and I will say it's almost all DC for me. Like
I mean,
it's
yeah.
almost all things that have Tom King's name or Jeff Lemire's name on them. Like,
Well, I mean, yeah, that's my boy.
oh,
Uh,
and then the first half you have like the first half of the Scott Snyder Batman, which is kind of exciting. So like I guess, but again, that's like jumping back to like 2010, 2011 at that point, and like sort of like Court of Owls was a while ago.
I mean, yeah, I think oof, the Batman Scott Snyder, Greg Capullo from like 11 to 16 is good. I mean, Mr. Miracle, that is
Like I said,
2017.
Mr. Miracle's one of them. And again, I'll throw Vision in there in that same
Have you fucked
conversation.
around with Doomsday Clock yet?
No, I kind of refuse.
Why?
Because like anytime DC's like, we own Watchmen, I'm sort of like, eat shit. Like that's
That's
cool.
fair.
Like it's because it's like trying to put fucking Sherlock Holmes or something in him. Like it's great, but it's not really yours. Like that's from a book. Like
Sure. Yeah, yeah. No, that's
because
fair.
I'm not like, and again, I like the Watchmen TV show. I'm not taken offense by any of like the other dumb Watchmen babies things that they've done for DC, but it's just like I don't know that like I am like chasing the expanded literature for that thing. So the idea that it's like, what if Superman and Dr. Manhattan? Like, I don't know. The nothing about that seems like an interesting conversation.
Y- did you like right before the pandemic there was a House of X
That was cool. I like those a lot.
yeah, yeah, those are
It's
really good.
because I think like I the fact that they finished X-Men to me is kind of beautiful. Like, and anything you sort of go into now is this beautiful new thing, but like they figured out a way to like put a bow on it in a way that like no other part of the Marvel universe will ever get. And like
Yeah,
I think that's kind of cool. And it's now I will say, coming into that is maybe the worst X-Men shit ever. And that's coming from someone who's had to change their opinions about other things I thought were bad before that era existed. There's
sure.
stuff that I was shitty about that I had to be then wrong about because those things were perfectly acceptable compared to the shit that came after. Because that whole bringing the X-Men from the 60s original five like back into the modern world, I was like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no, this is dumb. This is Fonzie's
yeah,
wearing the jacket. He is in the fucking lake
yeah.
and the boat is starting.
Yeah. Where are you at with Saga? I don't think I've ever actually.
I have not gotten caught up. I think Saga is again probably one of the best like books that exists in the last 10-15 years. I think
Yeah,
that like it sure lost its momentum real bad in a way that like
yeah,
I think is a bit of a bummer because I don't think it's ever going to quite. I think it's kind of hurt its legacy in the long term.
yeah.
I don't know that there's anything Saga's going to do this far in that will yield a larger pop than it has already had, and I think it
Sure.
kind of like missed its window to quite be the cultural juggernaut in.
Yeah,
I think it kind of is in a similar vein, but I think it is probably an overall better product than like Why the Last Man, where it's something where it's like it's something that every part of this is like great and
sure.
should have been a
God, what a
thing.
fucking
And
ball dropped with that show.
I never saw it. It seemed okay, like but yeah, did people? I also think I cannot imagine worse timing for a product.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's I feel like that show is very much a victim of circumstance in a lot of ways. That like is it's also got chewed up in the TV machine.
yeah.
But I think that yeah, there's just a lot of stuff like that that's got some rich veins to it. But yeah, at the same time, yeah, I'm trying to think of other ones, but yeah, there's a lot of like 2010 stuff because it just feels like so much of it is start stop things. Like there's even stuff that like I liked at the time that like I really like Jeff Lemire's Animal Man, but like
Sure.
it
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
doesn't go anywhere. It's sort of a
Yeah.
weird like three arc
Descender
thing
is
that just falls
fine.
across. Like
I'm not a big Ascender Descender fan. Like I couldn't
yeah.
get into those
I mean,
books.
Lemire's an industry to himself at a certain point where it's like
Oh, 1,000%.
you
Yeah.
can be a fan of Jeff Lemire and not like entire swaths of his career. Like I don't like his Batman at all.
No.
Like, and
Yeah.
he's probably one of my favorite writers,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
comics. And I can just take a whole chunk and go like, this is not me even a little bit. Like I
But
bounced
Black
off
Hammer's
it
really good.
so hard.
Yeah.
And his fucking Swamp Thing was cool as
Oh,
shit.
great. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there's he's one of those guys where like I kind of like him as a modern writer because I don't know what I'm gonna get. Like
It's
sometimes
true.
it's
He
gonna be
doesn't have.
good,
He's not a one-trick pony for
no,
sure.
he's always trying shit, and like I respect it because like off there are many times it doesn't work, but every time I kind of respect the hustle because he also doesn't feel like he's being clever about it.
Yeah.
And
You know
like a
what?
lot
Yeah.
of other people in comics who I like, there is a little bit of like, aren't I clever? And again, this is coming from someone who loves Grant Morrison, the king of cheeky, annoying cleverness. So like,
That's funny. I was funny. I was looking the other day at like how many villains has Morrison created, and I was like, not many. Like
yeah,
he's not a big villain guy. He's more into like
no,
edgy,
no,
weird characters.
he is he comes in and like messes within what's already there.
Yeah, yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
that's always sort of the interesting thing is that like it's where you realize he's a weird comic book nerd is
Yes.
that it is that like he just like digging through this shit and going like, isn't this fucking wild? Like, he's a guy who wants to show you Batmite as much as possible.
He also doesn't do that thing, which I think is easy for a lot of comic creators, which is like, I have a story, I want to bolt it onto a character. Like, it doesn't feel like he does that as much. Like, he's more of like, I have this idea for this weird character or this weird thing. Like, maybe that, I mean, I don't know if you jumped into that Green Lantern run. That is a little bit of like, maybe he had the idea and then bolted it on to Green Lantern.
His Batman run is always sort of it's weird that like late in his career like he had a whole new act that like sort of changes the long-term like assessment of his stuff in a way that like is like what a fucking asshole. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna be in the vanguard of the British invasion. I'm gonna be like one of the architects of like the like evolution and saving of comics in the 2010s.
Yep.
I'm gonna make, arguably like three levels of avant-garde work for DC Comics, each time like getting more challenging.
Yep.
And then after that, like bucks off to the X-Men, creates like a couple of original characters there.
Yep.
Sort of runs off in the night, seeing the writing on the wall for where that shit's going, and then just like spends a decade breaking Batman and rebuilding him.
Yeah.
Sort of for fun. Like it's very weird.
Very weird.
Like I am perplexed by, because also the fact that the Batman people were just like, I don't know, fucking sure. Like they were like parents smoking cigarettes in the den while the kids are playing in the backyard, and then eventually like, oh fuck, what do we gotta go, and then just like gave it to Scott Snyder and said, make it uncomfortable, make it Spawn. Here's a guy who will help.
Okay, I got one last question, and it's pointed at you.
Ooh, okay.
All right, from Fingers Grayson once again, Kyle.
Yes.
Strictly from a narrative standpoint, how do you feel regarding the decision to cut Netflix Sandman after season 2? Can they wrap it? Can you wrap it up in any type of satisfying way?
I think they will, because the show doesn't seem particularly worried with the overall Sandman comic narrative, which again I don't hold against them. It's the thing I bounced off is that show feels very much like it is a little embarrassed of its subject matter. So I think that they will do
and its creator.
Yeah, it's look, we can't, you guys can't all fucking pile on this guy now. Like I went full circle from being fucking annoyed by him and then back to being charmed by it again, right as he's getting canceled. So okay, like you guys can all pretend like you didn't like the art the whole time, but he sucked for a while when you guys were all about it. He was a bad guy when you all love those shitty Doctor Who episodes. So I'll go ahead and keep loving my Sandman.
Fair.
It's like that's what every time I bring him up recently, he's bad. I'm like, you guys all liked the version I hated, so slow down. You can't write it all off now. You guys co-signed all the stuff I thought was shitty. The 3 things I still think are good, I'm gonna stand by, because
I liked them and they can't take that away from me.
It's like but it's just like it doesn't matter to me that much. Like it's not, I was not reading going, well, I hope this guy's super chill and fun. I don't know that I do that with a ton of things. I don't know if I consume a lot of my art and going, well, I hope the person who made this is nice to people. Like because
I never got that
for
mentality.
Rich people for a long time, and
I was going to say if there's anybody that knows,
it's not. And guess what? Even if you think they are, they're still not. Guys, they're people, and they're people who are kind of rich and don't care about you. Like it's fine. They're humans, but like the idea that like you should be best friends with the person who makes your art is an absurd concept.
But also like the thing that I can't remember what comedian it was. It was like, yeah, does this person who makes a lot of money, like, are they cool and chill about it? It's like, no, that's never been the case. like why would you ever expect that?
Yeah, it's you don't get to that world by being a timid sweetheart.
No. You either get lucky and you get swallowed up, or you're an asshole and it kills you.
Like a bad way. Like these people have worked very hard, like and done this, this and that. But I think it is this weird angle of just the. It's like, I mean, if somebody's cool, that is a wonderful bonus, and go and support that shit. But it's also like. The idea that it's after the fact, everybody's like, well, and I never liked them. Like, yes, you did. Just like acknowledge that like you have a different relationship with it now, but like don't pretend like all of a sudden it's the everybody in their 30s listen to Radiohead and not Nickelback.
Oh my God, yeah, fuck.
I know a lot of people who really remember their high school years differently than they actually happened, and that's fine, and let them have it. But also like it's why I'm sort of sometimes like, sure, guys, okay. Like, don't get me wrong, fuck him in his stupid face, but also like fuck him in his stupid face for lots of things, up to including shitty Doctor Who's. Like, we're gonna fuck him for all the things.
Fair, and sometimes they do a good thing.
All that removed, back to the Sandman show thing. I did give that show a shot and really wanted to engage with it because I genuinely was like, okay, like this is one of the more special things to me in my lifetime. Let me like give a little taste of it. There's 5 things that I'll give a feel to, even if I don't dig it, but I'll have to engage. And I don't think it's bad. I think the guy playing Morpheus is terrible. Yeah. I think he fundamentally fails to capture anything about Morpheus as the character in the book that makes him compelling whatsoever, and instead he's just sort of a hot British guy who looks like a guy who's like pretending, like who's like too embarrassed to dress like the Crow, and they kind of did exactly what I thought they'd do with it, which is sort of like they take the storylines and then like figure out what they don't want to deal with because they think it's lame and sort of like intermingle it with like stuff that they think is cool. They'll take the elements that I think are like used just the right amount, like the Corinthian, and then fucking spray them everywhere.
Yeah.
In that sort of like, well, all the nacho cheese is better than some nacho cheese.
Yes.
Like, and it's just, I mean, it is feels very much like America making a Sandman show where it's like, let's
Yes.
make it hotter and less gay.
Yeah.
And even when it is gay, it doesn't feel gay. And that was like the fact that like uh look, I love the idea of a lady devil, but like you took one of the greatest weird little gay back and forths and fucking ruined it.
Yeah.
Like Morpheus and Lucifer is the best they should fucking in comics for a very long
I mean, I
time.
will say the guy from the Lucifer show, I would rather have had him.
When it wasn't him, I was genuinely like, oh, this is a sign this is not gonna work out. Like, and then they
Yes.
were like, it's because it's Gwendolyn Christie, right? That's who plays
Yeah,
the
yeah,
devil,
yeah,
in it,
yeah,
who I
yeah.
don't dislike, but
Yeah,
like,
great actress, but like I don't want her in that role.
unless you're gonna make Morpheus also a lady, but like to me, like Lucifer in that show without like dripping queer subtext,
Yeah.
like where just I want fucking the Job on 30 Rock.
Wow.
Like
Yes.
that kind of thing. And so like there's just fundamental stuff like that where it felt like it didn't fully, again, it felt like it was sort of embarrassed to be what it was, in a way that I didn't vibe with, because like it just was. Salmon is dorky. Salmon is not cool. Salmon is like kind of embarrassing. And to
But
me,
that's what
like
makes
that
it
is
good.
part of what makes it great. It's
Yeah.
also like it can be profoundly embarrassing because then you can have it get really fucking weird. Like this show is never gonna
The
have
fucking haunted house. That's how
a
you get that. Yeah.
yeah, well, you're gonna get like a guy who, you cut off a man who's full of bird's face, and then his bloody face nailed to a wall tells you how to use menstrual blood to get to the fucking dream dimension, and that's my shit.
It's
And that's the kind of
juxtaposition.
shit that they're not gonna do. Like
Yeah.
this is also like not a thing that's just gonna let a bunch of like queer ladies run around for a whole episode's arc. Like they're gonna have like they'll fuck with the gayness in that book. Like there's just lots of weird shit that makes it feel sort of like toothless. But like I think that the version of it that they do, I have no doubt will like land whatever plane they're hoping to do. Like I think it's the people who make it do seem to care about making whatever version of it they want to do. Because again, it doesn't work for me. Like I think
Sure.
that like this is a perfect version of Sandman for someone else, and for a different type of person who sees like I get it when I
There
watch it.
is
It's
elements of Sandman in it. Like it is
yeah,
not
and I think
completely away
there's
from it.
stuff I think that the you know Ankle, that's the wrong name. The fucking bird. God damn it. Anyways, but like I think he's great. I like Kevin Smith as the fucking, or no, is he in the show or is he in the audiobook? Never mind. I might be wrong. I might be
I think it's the
confusing.
audiobook.
He's in the audiobook. He's Jack O'Lantern in the audiobook,
Yeah,
which is kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
great. And the other thing that's like I think I'd hate it more if the audiobooks didn't exist.
God, the audiobooks are so
They're
good.
flawless. Like they are like I got genuinely emotional listening to the first one. Like because
Yeah.
it was like, oh, this is it. Like they don't need to make another media format
This
for
is
this.
how
We're
you
all
move it into
set. Like
another
this is
media.
what I
Yeah.
wanted. Like it's they've started doing other things in that audio graphic
Really?
novel format. I think they did Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, maybe, or
Oh.
something like that. There's a couple I
Huh.
think I've seen that I want to dabble with another because it's such an interesting format that I'm kind of curious to see if they can pull it off again. It helps in that case to have a pretty good writer writing the scripts, like who is
Yeah.
sort of a prose writer at his core, an evil prose writer, but a prose writer at his core.
Sure.
So yeah. So yeah, so that's I hope I've covered that all right. But yeah, again, it's seems like the people who dig it. I watched the first three at some point last year. I actually watched the first one twice because I watched it on a plane and then wanted to give it another run. And then kind of by the third one, I was just like, it's not hitting.
Yeah.
I
I
mean, to
couldn't
be
do it.
fair, like I fell off of the One Piece live action show too. So like
Yeah.
it's weird how 10 episodes of that show somehow feel longer than 300 episodes I'd
Yeah.
watched of One Piece prior to that, the cartoon show.
Fair.
Like it is like it is some America pacing, and that is no good, my friend.
No,
Our
yeah.
TV is muy slow.
Fuck, it was so weird. Yeah, you wouldn't think that from America, but
Well, it's funny. TV has now become broken in the same way comic books. Like the decompressed storytelling leads to these sort of like things where individual pieces no longer matter because it's no longer being focused on delivering that way, despite it being the way it is being delivered.
God, yeah, Jesus Christ, yeah, that is painful and true.
I think, hey, comics are surviving, flipping, and finding new ways to go. That's the other thing working with kids is like, I don't know if you've met this Dog Man gentleman, but he is
I've
very
heard,
popular.
I've heard a lot about this Dog Man.
And he, that's a comic book. Like that shit is straight up comics. Like
I
the
didn't realize that
kids,
that's Captain Underpants guy. That's
yes, that
the
guy is
yeah,
he's a real me have to go to bank now.
yeah, so wealthy. Jesus Christ.
And and that kind of shit. Like kids now are trained to read comics, but don't think
Really?
of them in the context of superhero comics at all.
Really? Like you show them and you're like, this is the same, and they're like, fucking no, it isn't.
Yeah, no. The again, my two superhero books out there, those are movie things.
Yeah.
Like versus like this kind of stuff is very much like taken into this like every half the books are thing or there's oftentimes like the book and then there's a graphic novel version of another of a book like and it's
Yeah.
done with some care and it's interesting because like I don't know it's kind of blown my mind like the level of graphic novel literacy that kids just inherently receive at this point is kind of one of the other reasons I was like, maybe I'll dabble with some fucking comics here. It seems like perhaps,
And
might
something
be an
that
already.
is slightly kid friendly
Well,
too.
it's
Yeah.
also like you think about like the sales on stuff, and it's that funny thing of like they eventually had to get rid of the New York Times best-selling comic books list because it was just Walking Dead titles. It was just 10 Walking Dead trade paperbacks. And then or it
Wow.
would bounce back and forth between manga and Walking Dead. Like, and
Wow.
that's and it's you know, Bone has outsold basically every spider superhero book ever made.
Yeah.
It's there's this alternate version of comic books that like the comic industry really would love you to not know about, despite it being seemingly how they make all of their money secretly. But
I
I
mean,
guess it's like,
yeah.
or I guess it's like that's the book companies, but I feel like some of these are owned by some. I don't know. It's very weird because it's also like I even like look at floppies now. Like I'm reading Supergirl in floppies, and it's
Oh
weird
wow.
because like reading the shonens and like the 8 pager, or the the kind of like proto zine thing I'm working on. It's also like the floppies feel weird because they feel like too long for one sitting, but like too short to like contain enough to be a satisfying
Because you're like, I
single
feel like I
unit.
need to finish this because it's embarrassing if I
Yeah.
don't sit down
And
and
it's like
finish it.
24 pages is like just long enough that I'm
Yeah.
sitting here like a little too long. Whereas
Yes.
like the 8, 12,
Fully
16,
agree.
and I have finished my meal. And
Yeah.
now I'm like ready to bounce. And it's weird because I realize like reading manga, that's what it's for. Like that you are reading in these sitting moments, whether on your ride
Sure.
or eating and shit like that. So it is like a different like delivery system because that's how, like I've been reading a bunch of Euro comics and manga. Like went on a real journey around the world trying to figure out again just like learning comics. I
Like
feel like if I'm
translated too? Like, is that?
yeah,
Oh, nice.
um, you know, if you for anyone, all right, listeners of DC, come over here. We're
Oh,
over
yeah.
in the corner. Okay, guys, if
Yeah,
you are
what's up?
vaguely interested in manga that was made before
Oh,
2000,
oh, yeah, that's
there's a
something I want.
website called archive.org. And if you dig,
Yes.
you can literally find maybe there's an absurd amount of vintage manga on there that is in CBR files ready to be read for free and downloaded.
Holy
Maybe
shit.
that's how I read all of Fierce Yatsura.
Oh
Maybe
my
it's not.
God.
Maybe some of Berserk is out on there.
Oh
Maybe if you're maybe a little Canadian listening to this thing, going, oh, I don't have a lot of my Canadian dollars and they cost so much. What
That's
do I
true.
do? I can send you up there and you can read some
That's great. I'm
manga.
gonna go
All right, we're back. We were just
over
talking
there.
about we were just talking about guy
Okay.
shit.
Yeah. Don't worry about us. Fuck yeah.
But yeah,
Uh,
that weird like and then versus like the Euro comics where it's like a 45-page book and it's like this is your plans for the afternoon. You're going to read about space pirates who have tits, and I was like, this is the fucking best genre in the world.
Das Buch.
And
Very proud
it's
of that.
it's like you're going to read 48 pages, and at the end you're going to be hungry and horny and a little confused.
Welcome to Germany.
I was like, I fucking love Euro comics. Because you
Uh,
get two veins. You get like the slightly horny fantasy sci-fi,
yeah.
or you get fuck you British comics, and both are the best.
I'm stoked. I'm going to London in May, so
Will you buy me a 2000 AD while you're there?
sure.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely, baby.
That's
Uh,
we got to get you on the 2000 ADs one of these days. Like you're
yeah,
gonna love it. Like
I
you're a
need to.
future shock boy. Like you
Yeah,
got Tharg energy for days.
thanks. All right, that is the end of this episode. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on.
Always a pleasure.
I know we've given you a few times to talk about your other works, but you want to talk about anything else?
I'll just this rad podcast, everything is scary podcast, my two shows, and yeah, I at Kyle Clark is rad on Instagram, and again, hopefully within the next week or so, I will finally have all of stuff done. And
Get on that Substack.
That Substack will be up and announced. It already exists out there. It's just sort of in like Death Star being constructed.
Sure, go find it.
Like the base is operational. You just have to find it. But I will make it publicly.
Yeah, but if you blow it up now, it's mostly just construction workers. Yeah,
it's true. It's they're all children. So like, don't you dare blow it up. That should have been the third Death Star. Is like you can't blow it up because it's full of kids.
But they're also doing slave labor with children, so that's bad, and you want to stop it?
No, the kids are there voluntarily. They hate the rebellion.
Fuck yeah, punk Star Wars.
No, they're all that. It's a bunch of Alex P. Keatons for the Empire.
I have complicated feelings about this. Are we the bad guys? Yeah. Oh my god, the Republic bad or good?
See, this is the kind of shit that would be funny for me in Star Wars. Not like is Force bad, but is more just like, but what if you had to kill like 9 younglings, but they were like Empire younglings? Ugh. That fucking one episode, Werner Herzog character walks in and goes, "Ha!"
So you found the children.
All right. Yeah. And so check Kyle Clark is rad on Instagram. That's where things go from. Thank you everybody for listening to all my dumb bullshit and stuff. I love doing this show. Always a pleasure to podcast in the Great Way North.
Fuck yeah. And that is it for this week. If you guys want to, I'm going to fucking figure out something to do next week. I have no idea still. But
I'm around if you need me.
Yeah, I know. It might just be
legitimately give me a call. I will always do this show.
I mean, this is the thing also, which is that Reed wanted me to do these by myself because I fucked off sometimes in the last few years and made him do them by himself. And so I literally was like, can we just not do them? He's like, no. He's like, I need you to do these.
It's funny because Reed could have called me too and he just didn't. Like,
this is what I mean. I mean, this is also classic Reed, which is that like sometimes like when his wife and kid go away, he'll go around town, stand outside of restaurants, and then determine that he's too lonely to eat by himself. And I'm like, I live around the corner. Call me. He's like, I just figured you're too busy. So,
man, nothing I love more than taking myself out to a dinner by myself and then a movie by myself.
It is,
and then put a move on myself in the car by myself.
Fuck yeah. I mean, truly, I went to see when I went down to LA and fucking got myself poke and then watched Monkey Man by myself. It was one of the best days.
Does sound heavenly.
It was so fun. I fucking love it.
I've been going to movies socially recently. It's fucked up. It's like went and saw went to the Tarantino theater yesterday.
Oh.
And I'm seeing some Japanese animation tomorrow.
Oh.
And then I'm going to see the new Bruce LaBruce movie on Sunday.
Well, holy shit.
I also love that I'm only going to weird things. Like there is.
I mean, yeah, that's you. Yeah.
And I'm also supposed to see some other shit that I don't know what I'm going to get in.
So maybe Kyle will be here next week.
Yeah, I'll be telling you guys all about how the rule of Jenny Penn went.
I love that. Also, I have to do listen to Ghostfacers because I put out one by myself today, and it's really weird to listen to with just me talking to myself about Supernatural.
I told you guys I see that show at the gym now, right?
No?
Oh yeah, there's a TV at the gym that when I'm in there is either playing Supernatural or Charmed. It's great. I love it.
Oh baby! Oh,
it's the
fuck!
Best
I love
channel.
that.
It's the Charmed and Supernatural channel.
All right, that is it for
magic.
This week.
Attractive magic.
Say goodbye, Kyle.
Bye, Kyle.
Ciao, ciao.
Superheroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They